really count. So if you don't know your numbers, now is the time to find out. See your doctor regularly to stay on top of your game, because no matter your age, every day and every number counts.
This message is brought to you by Molina Healthcare and Community Health Centers of Greater Dayton. If you do not have a primary health provider, call Community Health Centers of Greater Dayton at 937-461-6869 or visit communityhealthdayton.org.
You think buckling up is a personal choice? That it doesn't hurt anyone else? You would be wrong. Your choice could shatter the lives of your family, friends, and everyone you know. That's why we enforce seatbelt laws, to save lives. Think about that every time you drive. Buckling up isn't just a good idea, it's a choice between surviving a crash or not. Make sure you and everyone in the vehicle buckles up every time. Click it or ticket. Paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com. We're live. We're local.
What are you going to miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, Kev Nash is back, and I know that's a huge sigh of relief for everybody.
Hello, world.
Yesterday, I just went on a rant, and the next thing I know is an hour later. No one was here to tell me to go to break.
What happened?
I had some guy talking about smoking a bunch of weed in the comment section. I have no clue what was going on there. It was just a very weird show. So hopefully we can get the train back on the tracks here this afternoon. So, but we welcome you in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Well, we have a handful of sponsors, which is always a good thing. Our newest sponsor, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Shout out to Brad. In fact, he's the realtor that helped my fiance and myself through the home buying process for the first time. We're still in the middle of that process, hoping to close here in the coming weeks. But nonetheless, Brad has made that journey super easy, stressful. Well, I shouldn't say stress-free, but that ain't his fault. It's stressful buying a home, especially in this market. You kidding me? Put an offer on a home and it was accepted yesterday by somebody else. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I'm glad I bought my house. Man, we're going on 6 years. 6 years. Market was a lot different 6 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The asking price, that's just the starting point.
Exactly.
We made a couple mistakes early. We were offering the asking price. He's like, I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but that's just the start. It's like an auction. No one's going to get it for the starting bid. Let's just be honest. All right, guys, lots to get into here today. Look, we have Major League Baseball is no longer a thing. I got an email today from Major League Baseball. How about this? Let me find this. I want to read this because this is how, so baseball, it's the first time in 30 years. The last time there was, a shutdown like this in baseball was 1990. I was 1 year old. Actually, I would have probably been a couple days old at this point, right? No, I would have been a month old. I would have been a month old at this time 30 years ago, 32 years ago, I should say, whenever it shut down the last time. And, you just think, oh, shutdown. Who cares? It's been a long time since that's happened. What exactly does that necessarily mean? I found this interesting, Kev, as I got an email as I'm stalling here to find the email. There we go. Is this it? Yes, it is. Okay. So this is the email I got from earlier today. Reds radio network operations during the lockout, because we are a Cincinnati Reds affiliate.
Right.
I don't think there's anything I'm not supposed to say, but you know what? This show walks the line every day. So here's to hoping I don't screw something up here. No, I'm not reading the whole email, but affiliates are not allowed to use any Reds player, image, or likeness in station promotions, sales pitches, or materials of any kind. Wow. So can't use any, like, I had to go through the website today and strip any Reds, baseball content that has to do with players, coaches, managers, whatever.
Goodness.
Well, I mean, so this is what technically these players don't exist. I found it really humorous today, Kev. A lot of players, I saw like Andrew McCutcheon and some others, because if you go to MLB's website, or if you go to the Reds website and you click on roster, they have to take down the names. Mm-hmm. They can't even use the picture. So it's that, when you create a player or something on a video game and it's just that generic shadow. It almost looks like a mannequin head. That's what all the Major League Baseball players, the majority of them, they've gone to their Twitter handles and Facebook and Instagram, and they've changed their profile picture to just that little shadow box or whatever. Real funny stuff. Affiliates will be required to remove any video or audio posts from the podcast platforms and websites that feature a player's name. Basically, the Cincinnati Reds do not exist right now. They do not exist. Major League Baseball does not exist right now. And I tweeted this out earlier today. It's so frustrating to be a baseball fan. Like, I love baseball, don't get me wrong, but it's not one of my, it's football and basketball and football, depending on what day you ask me. But it's football and basketball for me. I love the Cincinnati Reds. But it's baseball and the Reds that just continue to break my heart every single year, because every time I get super into it and super excited, it takes a couple weeks for me to realize, oh, crap, we're the same old team. Never fails. Even when there's talent on the roster, it's the same old result every single time. It's frustrating. But let me ask you this. What would baseball be without scandals? What would baseball even be a talking point for anybody that lives in a market that doesn't even have a good baseball team? Not a baseball team. We have a baseball, well, technically an hour south from here, but you see my point. Just because you live within a close vicinity of a baseball franchise, of pro franchise, it doesn't mean that you have a team.
Right.
The Reds, historically, when I think of the Cincinnati Reds, and this is the sad thing, when I think of the Cincinnati Reds, I think of the Big Red Machine. Wasn't even alive for that. The Reds' history is so deep and so rich that it does not match their current state of baseball right now. That's how poor it is. For as great as Reds baseball was for a large number of our listeners, there are guys like me and you and others who really have not. And again, I know that they won the World Series in the 90s season. Super. I was just born around that time. That means nothing to me. I'll have the Reds won a World Series in your lifetime. Technically, but I'm going to say no. All right. I was a month old whenever they won that World Series, or actually it was a month after. I don't know when the World Series would have been in 89, but I was born in 89, so I'd have been a year old. It doesn't matter. The point is at the end of the day, I don't care. I mean, Reds baseball, I fell in love with that because of the way that the team was presented to me growing up, the way that the team was talked about growing up. And it was never about the current players. King Griffey coming over was always the big draw at that time. It wasn't for his play. His great play came at the Mariners. Got a couple good years out of him. He had a couple big home run years, but I mean, nothing to really be the face of a franchise for. But that's how poor the Reds organization is that you get bad Ken Griffey and the name is so big that he's the face of your franchise and he didn't even have to produce. Kind of like Joey Votto. Joey Votto up until this past year was the face of the franchise, but he couldn't produce. He was, you know what I mean? Like his career was over. He came back this year and looked great, but it's not the point. So baseball is just, it's a sticky situation for a lot of baseball fans unless you live in a market that has a competitive team. And the Reds, I don't want to hear about, they're not competitive. They're not a threat. All right. They're a threat to my mental health. That's the only thing that they are. All right. But I tweeted this out earlier, Kev. I said, what would baseball be without scandals? Would they be anything without scandals? Steroids, sign stealing, trash cans, substance checks, lockouts. That's the only time we talk baseball. Not necessarily me and you, because we do have a lot of Reds content on here. We're a Reds affiliate. We talk Reds. I get that. But like, if we didn't have the Reds in our South, or if the Reds didn't, if they were always bad, and they're bad, but I mean, they've tried to be interesting the last couple of years. The only time that baseball is talked about nationwide is when there's some kind of controversy. It's never about what's on the field. It's always about what's going wrong off of it. I said earlier that eventually baseball needs to get to the point where people talk about the sport for what's going on the field and less about what's always going wrong off of it. It's always about trash cans and sign stealing and substance checks. And it's always about steroids and trash cans and cheating and betting and Pete Rose. And if you are not injecting something into your arm or betting on your team or banging on a damn trash can, Baseball doesn't matter. There's a lot of fans listening to the show that have loved baseball. It's America's pastime. But you know what? It's America's past. It's in the past for a reason. It's not a part of our current culture. We talk about baseball when there's stupid rules that are made. We don't talk about the good rules. We don't talk about anything. The advanced analytics, that's killing the game. You have some that like it, but not enough to carry the weight of the popularity of it. The bottom line is baseball's only talked about for the cheating, for the scandals, for the steroids, for the trash cans, for the substance checks, for the rule changes, for the, baseball finally is paying minor leaguers. How about that? So at the end of the day, it's really hard for me to check social media and to see these yahoos post breaking news, baseball enters lockdown, or, the shutout, whatever that, what is it called? Why am I losing my mind on what the hell they're even calling? It doesn't matter. The point is, there's no such thing as baseball right now. It really is America's pastime. It's America's past because it's definitely not part of the future. And as of right now, it's not even a part of the now. And if you read the details of what's going on behind the scenes, it's not going to be resolved anytime soon. I thought when Reds Fest was canceled, when they sent us a note earlier in the year, I was surprised at how quickly we got that note about Reds Fest. We're getting all this news about the ballparks opening to full capacity. If you think back to that May, time, April into May, and I think it was June is when the ballparks officially opened up. But June is when we got the notice that there would be no Reds Fest this year. Right. And I'm like, okay, they're being, cautious and cognizant of COVID. And maybe that makes sense. You don't want your team owners who are elderly. You don't want your team to be around thousands and thousands of fans. But then I thought about it. That people don't care about that. Am I being a smart ass here? People don't care about that. We're filling ballparks. We're filling NFL stadiums, NBA arenas. We're filling high school games. I'm not really here for the debate about whether that's right or wrong. But my point is after thinking about it, I'm like, well, they're not canceling it because this lockdown was known it was going to happen. Yeah. This isn't breaking news. Reds Fest was canceled back in May and June because of the impending lockout. That's all it was. It wasn't because of COVID. I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, they're not going to do that. COVID's a part of our everyday life now. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's a matter of nothing's ever going to get canceled again for COVID unless it gets worse in some spots. But my point is we're not canceling events because of COVID right now. We're finding ways to put on events during COVID. You know what I mean? So that's what's crazy. This has been in the works for a while. We all knew this was going to happen going back to the debacle that was during the 2020 shortened COVID season, how much of a disaster and soap opera that was. This isn't ending anytime soon. It's a complete disaster. Baseball, it's an embarrassing sport right now. If you're a baseball fan and you're mad at me and you're trying to defend it, I know I'm not very good at hearing other people's arguments or opinions, but I don't really care about your opinion because this sport is a damn disaster and it's embarrassing and it sucks because it meant so much to so many people growing up, including me. And to see what it is now, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. College football, the NFL. You guys say you don't watch the NBA. The numbers say otherwise. People watch the NBA. People are running and rushing to the NBA. They're rushing to sports. Soccer's growing in this country. I always used to roll my eyes at, soccer will never be more popular than Major League Baseball. Well, for a sport that doesn't exist at the moment, you're not doing yourself any favors. Baseball can kick rocks for all I care.
Baseball, I have a love-hate relationship with it, obviously, because my team that I follow, the Guardians, we haven't won a World Series in my lifetime. My grandmother was I want to say 13 years old last time they won. So the thing about it is I was just on the Guardians team shop yesterday. I bought a ton of merch and I noticed no jerseys, no T-shirt jerseys were available. And then I'm messing around on Twitter and then I see the lockout or wherever they're calling this new thing. So I spent probably about $200 on work stoppage, whatever they're calling. I spent about $200 on the Guardians team shop, hats, hoodies, and stuff like that. But what I wanted, I couldn't buy because it wasn't available because players aren't with the teams right now.
They opened up that Guardians team shop and it was all old Indian stuff.
They had
generic stuff.
They had generic stuff, but you could buy some stuff. You could buy the T-shirts and you could pre-order stuff. So I wonder how that's working out. Okay, I pre-ordered a jerseys thinking I was going to get it in time for Christmas or something like that. Oh yeah, we're going to have to put it on back order some more, or you get a refund or something like that. As far as baseball is concerned with all these scandals and everything like that, I want to hear from some of our older listeners. At what point do you just wash your hands with the sport and loving the sport? Because I love the sport of college football. I love basketball. Yes, I have my teams that I follow religiously, but I can watch basically any college football game. It's college football I watch. It's the NFL I watch. what good matchup is on and everything like that. I can't do that for baseball. I can only watch my team. I don't care what's going on with the St. Louis. I just don't. I don't care what's going on with the Dodgers unless they're playing my team. Like, oh, let me go check them out. Let me see how they're playing. Who they got pitching tonight? Oh, his ERA is this? Okay, I get up to speed. But other than that, I don't care about it. So I want to know from the older listeners: is this the straw that's going to break the camel's back? Is this the time where people like really check out? Because as many times as baseball has these bumps in the road, people always eventually come back. But at some point, there's going to be people old enough that are going to be, unfortunately, no longer with us that don't have all those memories to hang on to.
Or to pass
say,
down.
Yeah, to pass down and say, yeah, I remember when the Big Red Machine was willing and dealing. Eventually, these people go on and everything like that. And no wonder so many people, especially in basketball, so many people don't have a favorite team. They have favorite players. And slowly but surely, that's going to happen in baseball. And slowly but surely, people aren't going to watch baseball at all because they're not going to have that home team to grab onto because of situations like this.
518-1410, 518-1410. Kev, you threw it out there a little bit ago. You have to hear from some of that older generation of baseball fans who have been through this before, like the fans that can distinctly remember the lockout back in 90. What was it like? Is there similar vibes to the sport right now? I feel like the sport was in better hands back in in 90 than what it is right now. Like, sure, there's more money in the sport now. There's more teams. There's more resource. But what I mean is like, I don't think baseball is on as a solid ground as what it once was. People act like just because there's money out there that's what makes the sport in better shape than what it is now. You can argue that money is why the sport is self-destructing. Because they don't know, to be honest, and this isn't because I'm usually anti-players, but like of all the sports out there, it is absolutely ridiculous how top heavy some of the spending is for a select few of the players. Like every sport, you're going to have your players that are worth more money than the others. That's not ever the same. But when you have 6 teams who have a combined payroll less than multiple players are going to make, like Max Scherzer will make more next year than 6 teams in Major League Baseball. As of right now. Now, I say that as of right now, and you're like, oh, there's plenty of time to fill that out. No, because keep in mind, rosters aren't being filled up right now. They'll be filled up with a bunch of bad players heading into spring training. And then when they cut the roster back down and they do all those big time cuts, they'll cut the higher paid players to cut payroll again heading into the season. The teams that know they don't have a shot, they're waving that red flag or white flag or whatever the flag is right now. Like, this is a disaster. Teams are literally just saying, forget it. Because the thing is, unlike in other sports, too, where you thrive financially, whether you're good or bad, that's not baseball anymore.
Right.
Like the Reds still get their TV market money one way or another, whether they're good or bad. But in their eyes, they're like, well, what's the point of spending all this money just to finish third in the division and maybe make a one-game wild card and lose that probably? No wonder they're not even trying to spend money, because if they spend money and it doesn't, you know what I mean? They're not going to make any money if they don't win and win in the playoffs. Now, that's their fault because David Bell's the manager. But the point is like, there's no incentive to even try to spend money on players, because it's either spend enough money to be a World Series contender or tank. That you can't, you know what I mean? Being a mid-level team like the Reds are right now, that to me is more scary than being the Pirates or being one of those horrible rebuilding teams, because at least those rebuilding teams, they have a plan in place and you feel like they're heading in a direction that's going to lead to more positive days. The Reds, they have Sonny Gray, they have Luis Castillo, they have Tyler Mahle, they have, Jesse Winker and a couple bats, but they're not going to be competitive in the NL Central. Now the Cubs, they took a half a year off. They took a half a year off, not to rebuild, just to reset, because they care about winning and they want to continue winning and they know they can. The Reds, they don't know who the hell they are. And it's not just a Reds issue. It's all across Major League Baseball. It's the same. We talk about the college football playoff needing to expand because it's the same teams every year. Well, they expanded Major League Baseball playoffs, and it's still the same teams there every year. So expanding the playoffs to let more teams in isn't giving more teams a shot. It's just giving the same teams, the more of an opportunity to make it, and you still get the same teams every year. It's ridiculous. I know the Braves just won one for the first time in forever. I absolutely get that. I know that kind of negates my point a little bit, but the point is, you watch the World Series, you watch the playoffs every year, it's the same damn teams. Same teams dominating their division every single year. Hell, even when the Cubs were supposed to be bad, they almost finished above the Reds this year. It's ridiculous. The Cincinnati Reds, yes, they're a problem for me, but all of baseball and how it's handled and managed is a problem for me too. And there's no really end in sight. This lockdown or lockout, whatever, is going to go on for quite some time because the players have had it out for owners and the owners have had it out for players. Mm-hmm. Me and you have talked about this many times. We're always on opposite sides on this, but at the end of the day, like the players want more of the pie because they feel like they're more of a, the owners, and I heard some different shows they talk about this. In every avenue of life, no matter what company you work for, you will never make the same as the owners of the company. Right. It doesn't matter how valuable you are. Colin Cowherd is the biggest talk show host that they have on Fox Sports. Dan Patrick's pretty good, but Colin's better. He's bigger, whatever. Colin Cowherd is not even close to being bigger than the company that he works for. There is not an individual out there that is bigger than the company that they work for. So for the players to continue to threaten to not play and all this stuff and all that, fine, don't. And eventually those checks will stop coming eventually. And then they're trying to call the bluff of the owners. And the owner's like, well, we're not making any money by not playing. But at least they're not giving the players the money. They shut them out. Like the chains are on the door so the players can't get in. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like that's what's difficult. But fine.
Yeah, this is different from the strike that was at what? I want to say that was at like 93, 94 or something like that. I think that's when the players went on strike. And the crazy thing about it is, especially back in 94 with the strike, the contract ended in the middle of the season. So, like, obviously, I'm on the outside looking in. I don't know how all this legal jargon works, but you would imagine, like, these contracts and agreements would end when the season ends, not when you're in the middle of a season. Now, obviously, this situation is different. The ownership is putting locks on the doors and everything like that. And to be perfectly honest, the situation is always going to be about money, but it's the smaller teams that end up biting the bullet even more because like you talked about, the teams are already got that revenue in from their TV networks and everything like that. And they're billionaires fighting with millionaires. Obviously, a billion's worth more than a million. So it's a clash, and I don't know how long this is going to last. We might not have a season this year.
Yeah, of course, Crybaby Shaw, he says that he goes, you feel, I got to make sure people can read this because, he's spreading that knowledge of his, Mr. Michigan. By the way, all he does is say how bad Michigan is, and now Michigan's his Facebook profile picture. How cute is that? You feel this way because we live in a Cincinnati market. Pretty sure in good markets, there are a lot more talk about good things like the playoffs and winning. Super. But there's only a handful of markets that's the case. What's the one? Baseball's talking about expanding, adding more teams. Why? So you could have more poverty-stricken teams? But like, really? Like, I don't want to hear that, by the way, it's one thing to be relevant regionally, but you will drown if you're only relevant regionally because the NBA thrives across the country. We'll talk about a star in any market if they're worth talking about, and we do. Maybe not so much on this show as much, but we do more during the summer, especially heading into the playoffs and finals and yada, yada.
Yeah, you're right.
LeBron could be talked about in any market. Exactly. Their stars could be talked about in any market. What star in baseball that doesn't play in Cincinnati can we talk about on this show? None. Up next, is Aaron Judge the best player in baseball? Kenner and Kev will debate when we come back. No, because Aaron Judge is a great star. Max Scherzer, was he worth it? Oh, man, Dayton listeners, don't go anywhere. We got the debate now. No one cares about Max Scherzer, but we care about Jalen Hurts somehow. We could talk about Jalen Hurts, and there's enough interest in Jalen Hurts and the Eagles around here. We're not close to Philadelphia. We could talk about the Bears. We could talk about any team. We could talk about the Lions. And we even talk about that horrible Cincinnati Bengals team. Relax, folks. They're good. They're probably going to be in position to win the division. Oh, just shut up. Just put your panties away. It's fine. But the bottom line is that baseball, Shaw, I don't care if those markets are talking about their team. The Reds are bad. We still talk about the Reds. But what I'm saying is the only time we talk about baseball as a whole, we didn't talk about the playoffs. We never talked about playoff matchups in baseball. We didn't talk about who's your upset in Major League Baseball playoffs because no one cares. We don't care. You guys don't care. Shaw, you might care because you're a Braves fan. Super. More power to you. Do you watch the games or do you only watch them when they win, by the way? And on top of that, when baseball could be talked about nationwide without it having to do with substance checks, without steroids, without banging on trash cans, sign stealing, cheating, what have you, when baseball can get to that level again, and it hasn't been that way for decades, it'll thrive again. But for right now, it's not a thriving sport. It's an existing sport, and there's a big difference.
Yeah, it's very regional. You talked about it. We can talk about any team in the NFL and have the phone lines jumping people calling in with opinions and takes about this player, that coach, what he does good, what he does do well. Anything with the NBA as well. I mean, it may be negative. All back in my day, this was that, and all they do now is shoot 3-pointers. They don't play any defense, but it still gets the conversation going. We can't talk about the Yankees here. We can't talk about the Guardians here. We can only talk about the Reds. That is the only thing that moves the needle here. NFL, any team moves the needle. NBA, there's Knicks fans that live in Dayton, Ohio. There's LeBron/Laker fans. Like, there's a fashion in Dayton, Ohio that are Miami Heat fans, believe it or not. Like, so baseball only moves the needle for your team. And for us, our team is the Reds.
518-1410. Oh, Billy Wright says, of all the dumb stuff Justin says, calling Cowherd better than anyone is the dumbest, and over Dan Patrick. Come on, Justin, be better. Dan Patrick needs to be better. I love Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick's great. He's not better than Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd's the best one out there. Why? Because if I drop Dan Patrick's name out there, people are like, oh, yeah, I know who Dan Patrick is. Colin Cowherd generates a reaction. Colin Cowherd's better. Colin Cowherd's the best sports radio host out there. It's not even close. But that's your opinion. And as I've been told by my bosses, I need to be more open to people's opinions. So let me start that over. Billy, I respect your opinion, and we'll just agree to disagree. You see how boring that is on radio, by the way? Like, why people are telling me, I get paid to give my opinion. I don't get paid to accept your opinion. I don't understand. You see how boring that was? Well, Billy says, of all the dumb stuff that I say, he's being mean first. Of all the dumb stuff Justin says, calling Cowherd better than anyone is the dumbest. And over Dan Patrick, come on, Justin, be better. How intriguing of radio is this? All right, Billy, you have your opinion. I have mine. I respect you. God bless. All right, on to the next opinion. I need permission to have an opinion on something as I don't want to offend anybody. I'll try to agree to disagree next. Like, come on. No. I'm not doing that. Sorry, bosses. Not listening to you. Can't do it. It's not possible, Kev, at least for me. You're an adult, and that's why you're here. 518-1410, who we have?
We got Charlie.
Charlie, how are you, sir?
Hey, Shaw definitely said if he watches the game, it's going to ruin his Thanksgiving break.
Right. And let me ask you this. Did he also say, because he got mad, he called us liars. I'm like, okay, if we lied, it was because we misunderstood, because he says so many dumb things. It's really hard to put them all in order and get it right every time. But I swore he said that he doesn't, more times than not lately, he doesn't watch it because he makes his family miserable, which with that personality, I can understand what he's talking about.
Yes, that is what he said.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
Oh, Charlie coming through.
He told Jason Fitz he was going to get his, whatever that means. And then he didn't even have the guts to tag him in the tweet. So I had to make sure Jason saw it. Unreal.
All right. And here's another thing. I drive a semi from 6 o'clock in the morning to about 5 o'clock at night. I listen to sports radio all day.
Uh-huh. Oh, no. Okay? Do you disagree with me, too?
Let me tell you what I do, Justin and Kev. I listen to two President Cup show in the morning because it's Jonas Knox and LeVar. But LeVar Arrington is, if you're not listening to him, that dude's the man. And you got Brady Quinn.
Well, Brady Quinn's why I would never listen to that. And LeVar Arrington is a horrible analyst for doing like alongside a play-by-play guy. But you're right. He's really good on radio. I do like LeVar Arrington on radio. But he called that Browns game with not Joe Klatt. The Fox broadcaster, Gus. Him and Gus Johnson called the Browns-Lions game, and as if the Browns-Lions game wasn't torture enough, listening to him call a game was even worse. That was horrible, man. Not Gus, but Arrington. He's not good at calling games, but he's really good on the radio. I'll give you that. But Brady Quinn, kick rocks.
Well, and he don't pull any punches, especially when he's talking about Dan Snyder. Like, that's so personal for him. But anyway, at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 12, you know what I do? I listen to podcasts. I catch up on all my podcasts. You're
killing me, man. You're killing this radio station right now. What are you doing?
But then at 12 o'clock, do you know what I do? Listen to Colin Cowherd.
There you go. And that's not even our station, so I'm doing a horrible job of leading this one.
The only time I turn on ESPN, now I don't mind Greeny. He's okay. But the only time I turn on ESPN is to listen to this show.
Well, thank you. See, and I'm mean to you, too, man. See, I need to work on me. New Year's resolution is coming. I'll figure it out.
No. I'm fine with it because it's only about the Bengals that me and you have problems. But like yesterday, I wanted to call you so bad yesterday because it was hilarious. Do you remember in the movie Anchorman where she switched the words in the prompter and he told San Diego to go after themselves?
Yes.
and then it goes to break and it's just like do. That's how you sounded yesterday. I was like,
did I say F you Cincinnati?
No. You weren't even talking about the Bengals.
Oh,
see what happened when I'm not here?
You were talking about fans and you called everybody idiots. That was so funny, man. But like it was definitely one of those things where it's like, where's Kev? We probably need Kev for this one. Dude, it was but that's why people tune in. That's why I tune in. Because it's like, even if you're coming after the Bengals, at least it's going to be good.
There you go. I'm pretty good. That's all I needed to hear. We know Kevin's great. Kevin has to, he's not a good babysitter. He doesn't really kind of bring me in like he's supposed to, but he does a good job on his end.
Kev does. Clearly Kevin wasn't there at the, when he left yesterday, there was a clear difference. So I think he definitely does a good job of keeping
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks.
Vacation man.
Here's the deal. We only went to 3 hours years ago because it was Schlemmer and I was like 3 hours by myself. I'm like, I think I could do 3 hours, but I don't think anyone wants to listen to me for 3 hours. So, there you go. But it is what it is.
I try. Sometimes I get mad at you because you said dumb stuff about the Bengals.
It's called truth, my friend. It's called the truth. No one likes to hear that. No one likes to hear that their kid's ugly.
You like to give like backhanded, like, right now, your whole kick is like, yeah, they're good, but not Joe Burrow. He's not good.
No, Joe Burrow's good. He's just not elite.
He's PFF's highest graded quarterback. So.
Okay, but also keep in mind the Browns, who have only scored more than 20 points once in the last 2 months, 40 against your Bengals, by the way. Did you know that as of last week, the Browns were a top 5 offense in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus? Yeah, Pro Football Focus is not credible in my book. When you have the Browns as a top 5 offensive team in football, sorry, that's not believable. And they, I'm sorry, I just can't. I don't care what calculations.
Let me
you sound like all the advanced analytical nerds in baseball.
Well, here's something that is believable. There are 2 quarterbacks in Ohio. One got drunk and ran from the cops, and the other one has a master's degree.
Well, I would hope you pick up something when you're in school as long as he was.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hey, you guys have a good day. I don't know what to tell you about baseball. It's a disaster. I'll see you guys.
See you, man. Take care. Jeez. Man, he hung up quick. It went right to the dial tone. Holy moly. Chris Rayburn says, as soon as I turn on the radio, I hear this Charlie guy. Look, I like Charlie.
Charlie's the man.
Charlie's good people. Charlie keeps me honest. Not that, whatever. It is what it is.
Oh, I see it now.
Ann Anderson says, I don't sleep, LOL, old age. I listen to Sports Center all night, but I do get tired of the same thing every hour. Then I switch over to 9. Oh, come on. Come on, lady. Come on, Ann.
Don't you utter those.
What the hell's wrong with you, Ann? Been a good thing going.
You just anchormanned it. You were just reading right
I know. I got to pay attention. I got to, I screen calls. I got to make sure I screen these Facebook posts. What the hell's going on, Ann? We had a good thing going. 518-1410. 518-1410. Billy Wright says, stop it. The only reason anyone watches Cowherd is for Joy Taylor. Cowherd doesn't even watch sports. Cowherd is by far the worst. Okay. Joy Taylor I like Joy Taylor. Kev Nash is no Joy Taylor. I just got
watch it. Be careful.
I miss Kristen Leahy. I loved Kristen Leahy. I loved her. I don't even know what happened to her. Joy's really good. I like Joy. But Kristen Leahy.
Oh, okay. I remember. I know you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I was in love with Kristen Leahy.
Watch it, Kenner.
What, are the people in L.A. listening to us in Dayton, Ohio?
Hey, man, you never know who's listening. Or taping something off their phone to put it on Twitter.
Well, Kristen Leahy, shoot your shot. 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. Kev, who we got?
We got Rob on line 3.
Rob, how are you, sir? Welcome in.
Oh, well, thank you for calling me, sir. That's your favorite Notre Dame fan calling in. How you guys doing?
Hold on. There seems to be tension. Did I yell at you recently or something? I'm
Probably.
It sounds like something I do, but you seem surprised that I was respectful. I'm a respectful guy, sir. Was I mean recently?
No, I'm good. We're good.
All right.
I just think that the choice of coach for Notre Dame, I know he doesn't have the experience of being a head coach. It's obvious he's a good recruiter. So I'm just hoping for a really good outcome coming this weekend. Georgia win, Iowa win, and Houston win, and Notre Dame's in.
Well, look, as far as Notre Dame in the playoffs concerned, a lot has to go right for them to get in, as a lot of teams. Hell, Cincinnati, they win. They're not necessarily in come Saturday on top of that. I have no clue why so many people are concerned about the Marcus Freeman hire. I tweeted out yesterday that honestly, or 2 days ago, I said the order of coaches that Notre Dame should target should be Urban Meyer 1, which was a long shot, but still you target him. I know the off the field stuff with Urban probably watered down his stock when it would have come to trying to sell Urban to the Notre Dame fan base, but whatever. I said people thought I was crazy, and I am. But Marcus Freeman would have been my second choice, which is theoretically the first choice and the best choice, because at the end of the day, everything that everyone says about, you look at Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, who's done a fantastic job, not downplaying that at all, but like everything that's said about him was also said about Scott Frost years ago. And Scott Frost was supposed to go to Nebraska and save Nebraska, and that has just been, they're the Lions of the Big Ten. They lose a lot, and they're competitive in their losses. Marcus Freeman can coach. The players came out and spoke about wanting him to be their coach, which, by the way, that's important. Having the players that like him. But my goodness, the guy, he owns the room. When you look at him, he just has the look of a guy that just fits that part. I'm a huge fan of Marcus Freeman. Maybe it's the local bias I have for him, but I'm happy that he is the head coach at Notre Dame. It's not officially official, but it sounds like it's official. Kev, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, Rob, how do you feel about it?
I'm not putting down the hire at all. Does he have a lot of experience being a head coach? Of course not.
Right.
But he does. One, what's one of the main things in college football? It's recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to do that.
Right.
Okay. And Notre Dame, they're starting to get some really good defensive players now, and it's all because of him.
Yep.
So I believe that, when you have somebody mid to upper 30s, close to 40 or whatever, they can relate to the player. Of course, these programs want to have that coach that really doesn't do anything, but he just has a big presence. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'll say
Freeman.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Marcus Freeman is a hands-on coach, and he will continue to do that, even being the head coach. But the only thing that he's got to learn is he doesn't need to be in charge of everything.
Well, I'll say this about Marcus Freeman. People talking about his age and lack of head coach experience. Lincoln Riley was 33 when he took over Oklahoma. Ryan Day was 38 when he took over at Ohio State. Dabo was 39 when he took over.
Stop looking
at
my notes, Kev.
So for anybody that's concerned about that, and neither of them had any head coaching experience. Dabo Swinney was the wide receivers coach when he took over for Clemson. So for anybody out here talking about lack of experience, he was the defensive coordinator at Purdue when Ohio State went to Purdue in that night game, and Purdue whooped us. And he was also the defensive coordinator down in Cincinnati and the lead recruiter down there. No wonder they're starting to get 4- and 5-star dudes to go to Cincinnati before they made the jump to the Big 12 and everything like that. And obviously everything he's doing in recruiting at Notre Dame. So I think this is a great hire and obviously a great opportunity for Marcus Freeman and his family. So is nothing but congratulations. And I'm sure us in Buckeye country are a little torn because we're just automatically taught not to like Notre Dame, but now we got one of our own head coaching them. So we'll give them a clap or two on the weekends as well, just like we do give UC a clap or two on the weekends and everything like that. This is a great day for everybody in the state of Ohio, especially Marcus Freeman and his family.
Exactly. I'm sure the guy works hard every day.
But what is it about Fickell that you think would make him automatically better? Because you can argue that it's because of guys like Marcus Freeman that he is in position to have the success he's having at Cincinnati, because they're getting good players and Luke Fickell's a great leader. Yes. But Luke Fickell, you're only as good as the coaches around you. And a lot of the guys that did the groundwork for who Cincinnati is right now is guys like Marcus Freeman.
In college football, the head coach is important, but the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator are just as important. So I think that Cincinnati will know if they've really replaced somebody like Marcus Freeman if they can still get that talent. I hope that makes sense.
That's fair. No, that's fair. And look, by the way, considering how bad the situation is for your team with the way your coach left, I think that they were left in just as good a hands, if not better, just because there's a little bit of a reset with, after 12 years of the same voice.
Yeah.
I think that and you got two young coaches, two coaches in their 30s. Is it Reese? Is that his name?
Yeah, the former quarterback.
Yeah, so you have the OC now, and now in the defensive-minded head coach. People always want to hire the offensive-minded coaches, and I'm like, sometimes it's the defensive-minded coach, because you're one good OC away from matching the intensity and the knowledge that he brings to the defensive table. Notre Dame's in good shape. I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but it's like I find I'm going to be pulling for him more now than I ever have, at least after the first game of next year I will, when it comes to that, just because of how big a fan of Marcus Freeman I am.
Now here's the thing. If Notre Dame next year comes out and they put a stop to Ohio State, I'm not saying that they win, even if they lose a close game. People are going to say, "Yep, that was the right hire."
Well, win or lose, it's still you can't have one game with Freeman, and of course it's against Ohio State. And let's say they get smacked, because players will leave. That's what happens when a coaching change happens. The players that leave aren't a direct reflection of Marcus Freeman. Right. There'll be players that come in, and you need time to kind of establish, your own, thumbprint on the game. But just so you know, I don't care if Notre Dame gets beat 75-0 in Freeman's first game, next season. That ain't going to be a reflection of who he is as a coach or whatever. That's just my take. And they won't get beat 75-0, maybe 50-0. I don't know.
And Kyle Hamilton, he won't be there. He'll be in the NFL. Yep. Thank goodness.
And I was going to mention Kyle Hamilton.
Going pro.
It's not a good thing that he got hurt, but it got somebody else in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
He probably could have played the last couple games, but he's got to be ready for the draft.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Notre Dame is in good shape. Okay, because we talk about Notre Dame a lot now. So they are starting to be a force in college football again.
All right. Hey, good stuff. I appreciate your call, sir.
Hey, go.
All right,
yes,
man.
sir.
Yes, sir. There we go. Take care. It's like I'm respectful, and it throws people off a little bit. I have no idea. Just to be clear, I get made fun of all the time. I'm a yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am guy. Like, that's how my parents raised me growing up. So it annoys people. I can't tell how many meetings I go to, and they're like, stop saying sir, stop saying ma'am. I'm like, geez, sorry for being nice. Then I get to the 3:00 hour, and it's like, oh, you're so mean. You're so rude. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. You can't please them all. Can't please them all. 518-1410. We opened up. We went from baseball right to Marcus Freeman all within the same hour here. We have time for another. No, let's reset here, because I do got to make sure we stay on, is what I got to step away for a few moments. 518-1410. We'll take your calls regarding Marcus Freeman, the Major League Baseball, the lockdown or the lockout, whatever the hell you want to call it. The bottom line is, there's no baseball. Baseball doesn't exist. We got an email from the Cincinnati Reds earlier today that we had to remove any Reds players or audio or anything associated with the Reds from our website because they don't exist anymore. They don't exist. Baseball does not exist as we currently sit here right now. And then I'm like, oh, wow. Like it was a cool email just to see kind of how they're going about scrubbing a lot of this stuff off. But like, you go to Major League Baseball's website, they're scrubbing everything off. Very strange. But that's the time we're living in for baseball. And when you read the letter from Rob Manfred trying to, all the owners, we had no choice but to do this. Look, they're not the victims here. The players are definitely not the victims here. The fans are the victims here. And that's the unfortunate part. But really, the fans are the victims. But honestly, they're fighting for one another, and all they're doing is bearing their own sport. Because we saw during COVID, Kev, no one had sympathy for either side, really. Mm-mm. No one felt bad for the players fighting for what they were, and no one felt bad for the owners. It's just baseball just looks ridiculous here. They look like fools. They when Black Friday, when you go and you see people fighting in the line at Black Friday, there's a winner and there's a loser. Someone started it. Someone didn't even mean to be involved in this, but they both look like idiots, regardless of who's right or wrong. That's Major League Baseball. You look like the two crazy people fighting in line at a Black Friday event. That's over a TV. Over a TV. Or over a $350 million contract. But whatever. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Take home Frickers Holiday Feast. Frickin' yum, 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 yum. Our gift cards always please. Frickin' yum, 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 yum.
Take home 4 pounds of frickin' chicken chunks for only $29.99, carry out only. Buy a $25 Frickers gift card and you'll get 5 frickin' bonus bucks free. The ho, ho, ho for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Frickin' yum, yum.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus, home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well, medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy all types of real estate completely as is. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
You may have heard that Allstate has new low auto rates, but isn't it time to see for yourself? Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Live back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. Like, follow along. You can also subscribe to ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Head to YouTube, search ESPN Dayton. Like, subscribe, and watch the show live weekdays from 3 to 6. We also post the shows in their entirety in the archive, as well as select segments in all interviews. So make sure you go and check that out. There you go, 518-1410. So, yes, we did kind of transition a little bit into the Marcus Freeman conversation. All reports indicate that he will be the next head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to replace Brian Kelly after 12 seasons. Everyone believed that, the two names that would be in line, or the three most popular names to replace Brian Kelly would have, Urban Meyer's name was a pipe dream, but it was worth throwing his name out there. That was one of the jobs Urban has always had on his list of teams he would have loved to coach. There you go. But that was a long shot, just because, they're still in the middle of the NFL season, and, who knows what was going to have to go into Urban taking that job. But, or even if they wanted him, that's the other thing too. Like, it's, one thing to say Urban should accept or not accept the job. Did they even consider him? Because it's not as if they didn't have a lot of cleaner options that would bring less question marks and less eyes in regards to the behind the scenes stuff, if you will. So, Marcus Freeman, have been a big fan of from the time he left Cincinnati. I always thought Marcus Freeman, if his head coaching gig would have been Cincinnati when Luke Fickell left, I thought that's where he would have ended up back with. Because keep in mind, remember when Urban Meyer, because someone said earlier that Brian Kelly, I got this tweet earlier today that Brian Kelly is the most selfish individual ever, that if Brian Kelly cared about, Marcus Freeman, he would have on the way out said, Marcus Freeman should be the head coach. He should be the head coach. That's what Urban did for Ryan Day. That's what Stoops did for Lincoln Riley. But they're not. And so when someone contacted me about that, I'm like, they're not even close to being the same scenario. First of all, we know Brian Kelly believes a ton in Marcus Freeman, because that's not even less than 24 hours after it was announced that he was the head coach at LSU, the first thing that gets out there is, yep, Brian Kelly knows I need Marcus Freeman. Come here. I will make you. Venables was the highest paid the coordinator in all of college football, and I think that was at like $4 million or $3 million or something like that, Kev.
Something crazy.
And so that would be the starting block of what Marcus Freeman would have made, being the defensive coordinator for LSU. And so here's why it's not the same. When Urban Meyer retired from Ohio State, wink, wink, right? He retired. He didn't believe he was going to coach again, that type of ordeal. But Urban made sure on his way out, and it was a little bit more, there was notice, like it was given, after the season ended, it was announced that it would be transitioning into Ryan Day's team heading into the final Rose Bowl game. Was it Washington they played that year, his final opponent? USC. So in that regard, Urban Meyer was leaving and wasn't going to be coaching elsewhere. It was just Urban Meyer walking out the door, wanted to make sure he left the program in as good a position as possible. Do you really think that if Urban Meyer was leaving to take a Florida job or a Notre Dame job or the USC job years ago when he left Ohio State, do you really think Urban Meyer, in this dog-eat-dog world, do you really think that Urban Meyer would have done everything he could to make sure Ryan Day was the next head coach of Ohio State? No. He would have made sure with everything in his power that Ryan Day became his offensive coordinator at USC or his offensive coordinator at Notre Dame or wherever Urban Meyer could have ended up. So Urban Meyer, there was no threat to Urban Meyer to push Ryan Day to be the next head coach of Ohio State. There was no threat there. Bob Stoops, when he left, it's not like Bob Stoops went and took a job elsewhere, because if Bob Stoops left to take a job elsewhere, he would not have pushed Lincoln Riley to be the next head coach of Oklahoma. He would have done everything he could to take him with him. So that's why this Brian Kelly thing, I know people want to pile on Brian Kelly. I'm not a Brian Kelly fan, but I'm not a hater either. I don't think he did anything wrong. And I'll tell you why I don't think he did anything wrong. I'll give you another example here in a moment. But Brian Kelly didn't do anything wrong by trying to pluck him away to make him his defensive coordinator. That's not saying that Brian Kelly doesn't believe in his ability to be a head coach. That actually just proves even more how valuable Marcus Freeman is that Brian Kelly was like, I'm not going to help elevate him to be a head coach and him be one of the teams I have to worry about every year, even outside of the SEC. I want him with me. He makes us a threat. He makes us dangerous. Marcus Freeman's the real freaking deal, man. And here's the other thing. For everyone out there that is mad at Lincoln Riley for leaving his team with still a bowl game remaining, for everyone that's mad at Brian Kelly for leaving his team with the game remaining and taking this job, if you look at Luke Fickell, that's exactly why these guys took the job when they did. because there's no such thing as, I really like this job. Will you hold it for me? Will I go finish my business over here and then I'll get back with you and we'll work out the detail? No, it's cutthroat. I'm pretty sure Notre Dame, if Luke Fickell was willing to leave Cincinnati right now and say, yeah, good luck, guys. I don't really care what happens with Houston now. I got my dream job in Notre Dame over here. If Luke Fickell's doing the right thing, by the way. I don't know if Luke Fickell has been contacted. Let's not act like he hasn't been. Okay. He's playing dumb. He was doing the Adam Gase big eyes, not blinking, looking like he, had an edible or something before he went live on the air. I have no clue what was up. I mean, he's the worst liar ever that day. I had no idea. I only found out because you told me. Stop it. Like that no one believes that you live in that world. So please stop. I hope you're a better liar on the recruiting trail than you are with the media, because that was embarrassingly bad. So as far as Luke Fickell's concerned, Luke Fickell's doing the honorable thing, Kev. He's doing the right thing. Hey, I'm focused on our upcoming game. I'm focused on my team. I'm focused on the Bearcats. I'm focused on the playoffs. That's what I'm focused on. I'll worry about that Notre Dame job later. And you know what Notre Dame says? Well, we're not going to risk holding a spot for you that you may say, you know what? I actually like this Oklahoma gig over here, and then leave you behind. Now you don't get anybody because the one target that you were waiting on ended up taking something else. It's a dog-eat-dog world, man. Notre Dame hired Marcus Freeman because Luke Fickell wasn't ready to take the job this second, most likely. So to me, that example right there is why Brian Kelly did nothing wrong. That's exactly why Lincoln Riley did nothing wrong. Teams aren't going to wait for you because they have to make sure they get somebody in there. They can't hold the door for you and then risk you not walking through that door, and now you're holding the door for nobody. It's not going to work that way. That's why I believe Brian Kelly made the right choice. It's not the best. It's making a lot of people uncomfortable, but you know what? It took 12 years for us to get to the point where we remember what he did to Cincinnati 12 years ago. So, it's not like people are outraged by this every day. We went 12 years. Really, we went 10 years without even bringing up what he did to Cincinnati because we forgot about it. We moved on. We don't care. You know what I mean? So, and that's what will happen here. Pissed off about it, but now Marcus Freeman's there. All is well in the world. They'll play competitive with Ohio State. Everyone's going to feel all rah-rah about the Rudy school, and then everything's fine. So at the end of the day, Luke Fickell, that example right there, he's going to stay with the Bearcats, not because he's loyal to the Bearcats for another couple of weeks, but don't act like he wouldn't have taken that Notre Dame job if it was offered at him later. And you could say, oh, he's such a loyal, guy. He put the team first. That's fine, but nice guys finish last. That's why guys like Brian Kelly succeed. That's why guys like Lincoln Riley will succeed. That's why guys like who are cutthroat, who don't care about the feelings of everyone around them, they'll succeed. And Luke Fickell has 2 more years with Cincinnati, and hopefully they could stay relevant enough heading into the Big 12. That's all.
Dang, you just cut them off at the feet. Just they ain't relevant no more after this season?
I mean, they don't have a super senior class next year. COVID really elevated this Bearcat team. Good for them. But I'm just saying, all that extra year of eligibility for those guys, more power to them. And hopefully it pays off. That's all.
Yeah, you got to get these recruits on campus and hit that transfer portal and do everything that everybody else is doing as well. As far as Marcus Freeman is concerned and Luke Fickell and, Kelly and everything like that, you're right. Like, if he believed in Marcus Freeman enough to want him to come to Notre Dame, why wouldn't he believe in him enough to go to LSU? Like, hey, man, we can get you a big bag down here and we can do this thing at LSU just like we plan to do it at Notre Dame, but just be at a different location. And I'm sure Marcus Freeman weighed his options and probably still weighing his options or whatever until this is officially official, everything like that. And Notre Dame made an offer, and now he's mulling that offer over and everything like that. And this is a tremendous opportunity for him. And just to be the young age of 35 and to be the head coach of Notre Dame, that's tremendous, man. I just remember seeing Lou Holtz on the sidelines back in the early 90s and man, he's old. And I mean, you think about Brian Kelly, he's been there 12 years. He's 62 years old or something like that. How much longer he's going to actually even coach? You know what I'm saying? So for them to get a young head coach and to keep that continuity, you know what I'm saying? Not only is Marcus Freeman staying at Notre Dame, but Tommy Rees is staying at Notre Dame too, the offensive coordinator. Normally when head coaches leave programs, they take the guys that they had at the other school with them. All right, well, I'm taking everybody that I brought here with me to my next spot. You guys are going to have to find a new head coach and a whole new staff too, because I'm taking all the guys that we made great here, just like what's happening at Oklahoma. Slowly but surely you're hearing about coaches leaving Oklahoma to go to USC and everything like that. And that's why it's so vital for Oklahoma to make the right decision. Probably Brennivals is probably going to be the head coach, him, and I've heard Luke Fickell in the mix and everything like that as well. But they got to make the right call too, because it's important to keep those recruiting classes intact, because we saw how many guys have already decommitted and then automatically committed to USC. Just like that. Just like that. A coach ain't there. Oh, I ain't there. Just like that. And Oklahoma has to be good at football. They have to be good at football, because what else is in Oklahoma besides the Sooners, the Cowboys, and I ain't talking about the Dallas Cowboys, and the OKC Thunder. I'll wait.
So, and here's the other thing too. Who are the two biggest, and I used Archie Miller as an example. Like Archie Miller was that big name, up and coming young coach in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Left Dayton, took the Indiana job, fell on his face, fired 4 years later, blah, blah, blah. But that happens more times than not. So the people that are out there saying that, that Luke Fickell should have been the guy at Notre Dame. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing if he was, but stop acting like that was going to be a home run guaranteed thing. Because Tom Herman going to Texas was supposed to be back because of Tom Herman, who was talked about in the same light that Luke Fickell's talked about at Cincinnati. Tom Herman didn't last long. He gone. All right, let's look at Nebraska. And by the way, when Tom Herman took the Texas job, you didn't see a ton of recruits all of a sudden just decommit and head to Texas. They got some recruiting classes put together. They were solid, but it wasn't like it totally shifted the dynamic of Texas Longhorns football when Tom Herman got to Texas. But he was that big Archie Miller type name of the college football world, of that recruiter that worked, or not recruiter, I'm sorry, that coordinator that worked his way up, got the head coaching job at Houston, and then just continued to impress and win everywhere he went. And it just didn't work out. And Scott Frost, we're seeing the same thing. Oh, he's going to go back to his old school. Look at all the success he had at UCF. Man, if he had that success, if he could recruit at UCF with limited resources and limited money for a coaching staff, imagine what's going to happen when he gets to Nebraska in the Big Ten. Now he gets to recruit Big Ten caliber players. Now he gets to he has the revenue, or he has the resources to be able to put a Big Ten staff together. And man, he's going to be way better. He's way worse. Scott Frost has not been good at Nebraska. He's not been good. He's not taken them anywhere. What makes you think that just going to get a guy from Cincinnati and Luke Fickell, that all of a sudden Notre Dame would just take off? You want to know the guys that have that instant success? It's guys like Lincoln Riley, who, and Urban Meyer, the second they get to a school, everyone flocks to him. Like, that's why Lincoln Riley is going to succeed at USC. That's more similar to when Urban got to Ohio State. Ohio State never struggled to get recruiting classes together, but man, it went from having to recruit and having to build to select when Urban Meyer got to Ohio State. That's the difference. Some schools have to really recruit, have to really work, and I'm not downplaying that they don't work hard. That's not but it became easier for Ohio State. That's why I like Marcus Freeman. The players gravitate to him. He's the head coach at Notre Dame. I want to play for him. I'm not saying players don't want to play for Luke Fickell, but I believe Luke Fickell would not get that same type of response that Marcus Freeman is, because you know what? Marcus Freeman doesn't care what random fans in Dayton think about the hire. He cares about what the players in Dayton think, or not in Dayton. I'm sorry. He cares about what the players around the country.
Yeah. Some guys.
So, by the way, and there's a lot of talent in this area for him to, and he has a lot of connections here, obviously, Wayne grad and everything. So my point is, Marcus Freeman is actually the best hire for this. Marcus Freeman is the guy that is going to go sit in a living room and instantly connect with a lot of these stars at the high school level around college football. I'm not convinced that Luke Fickell is going to go sit in a living room with kids all around the country and they're going to gravitate to him in masses and come play for him. They're going to do that for Lincoln Riley. They're going to do that obviously at LSU now, and they're going to do that at Cincinnati with Marcus Freeman. I'm not sold that I'm not sold that he would have been the guy at Notre Dame from Cincinnati and Fickell. I'm not saying he would have done a bad job, but there's nothing out there that would convince me that he's a lock of being a success at Notre Dame. I don't see that.
From everything that I've seen about Luke Fickell is he's a hands-on coach, and he's a guy that loves to find that gem that everybody's skipping over. We talked about this before with Darren Lee, 185-pound quarterback from Columbus, a 2-star recruit, came to Ohio State, put on a ton of muscle, outside linebacker, first-round draft pick. We talked about how he wanted Le'Veon Bell to come to Ohio State to play safety. 5'9", 200-pound running back coming out of high school. he ended up going to Sparty and obviously had a good career in the NFL and everything like that. We talked about how Sauce Gardner, 145-pound cornerback out of Detroit, and now he's about to be a first-round pick. Like, I think like that's like his thing. Like, you know, everybody has something that they're good at. He has an eyeball for talent. Like, yo, if we can just put like 20 pounds of muscle on this dude and we get him into our system and our program, he can be this. Like, just certain guys have that thing. Like, I remember Jimbo Fisher, he had a 4-star wide receiver. They recruited to Florida State. He could not get on the field. Couldn't get on the field because he couldn't catch. He said, you know what? You should play a defensive back. Xavier Rhodes ended up being a first-round pick in the NFL. It's like some coaches have that eye to say, well, you know what? How about we give this a try? How about we give that a try? I see that as one of Luke Fickell's biggest assets to find those uncut gems and everything like that. Now, those are great. Don't get me wrong. Finding those uncut gems are great, but you got to have those and then some of the quote-unquote surefire guys as well. And I believe once UC goes to the Big 12 and they start getting that footprint in the Big 12 and expanding just not strictly in Ohio and in the parts of Florida for UC's recruiting base and Kentucky and stuff like that, once they start getting guys from Texas, because obviously Texas, one of the biggest states in the union and everything like that, they got talent galore. He'll have a field day of finding uncut gems down there because everybody plays football down there. And speaking on the Scott Frost situation, the reason, and I'm not sure if there's any Cornhusker fans that listen to the show, but the reason they're not going to win ever again is because they're in Nebraska. They're locked. They don't have a talent pool in Nebraska. Back in the 90s when they were winning with Tom Osborne, they were going down to Florida to get guys. They were going to Texas to get guys. They were going to California to get guys. Now they're literally recruiting in Nebraska. No knock on Nebraska kids, but that's not where you imagine a ton of talent coming from to make impact plays. There were better players on UCF's team that he was coaching, that Scott Frost was coaching. The NFL will tell you, because last time I checked, it was like 7 guys from that team in the NFL. Gabriel, he's a wide receiver for the Bills. Bam Moore, he's a cornerback in the NFL. Like, it's dudes in the league. It's more talent in Florida than it is in Nebraska. So you can have your G5 school in UCF with a ton of talent, or you can have your big-time school in the Big Ten with no talent. And that's what it is. And that's what happens when you go home. Like, home strings got you. And, I mean, it's no knock. They paid them a ton of money. You're going home and everything like that. You need to go get some of those gyms down there in Florida, those 2-star dudes, and bring them to Nebraska and coach them up, because what he got going on in Nebraska right now just ain't going to cut it.
No, it's not. And I'm glad you said that, because the thing is, though, I get it. They're at a disadvantage. Not a lot of talent. The talent pool's not as great where he's at. And that's fine. But the talent pool has been deeper than an ocean in California. And how many USC coaches haven't been able to make it work there? Like, just because you coach at a place that has talent all around it, it doesn't mean that that talent's yours.
Right.
So what I mean by that is like Lincoln Riley, the second he takes over USC, all these 5 and 4 stars, all of a sudden, commitment here, commitment there. They got the 5-star quarterback. They already got that under his belt already moving forward. Like, there's some coaches that have that instant draw. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so they are, yes, you have to recruit, and yes, you have to sell the program. But then there's just guys that, you know what? I don't care if I have to go to Alaska to play for Nick Saban. I'm gonna, if is there a college in Alaska? Is there just an Alaska college? I'm assuming there is. I don't know. Do they have electricity in Alaska? I have no idea.
U of A,
University of Alaska. What are they? The Snowcaps? Okay. Let's say the University of Alaska Snowcaps hired Nick Saban to be their head coach. Okay. Let's be real. Every top star in the country will go play for the University of Alaska, for the Snowcaps, if that's even a thing. That, you know why? Because they'll go play there because of Nick Saban. Because you have, and that's what I meant by Marcus Freeman. Sure, you have Luke Fickell that has more head coaching experience, but does Luke Fickell land in a spot that everyone's like, I got to go play for that guy? I believe Brian Kelly is going to have that effect at LSU, and it's easier at LSU, by the way, than at Notre Dame, less restrictions. And I also believe Lincoln Riley is already showing that he has that effect there. Ryan Day had that. Why? Because you have to be known for something. So to your point, you as a head coach have to be known for something. What will a recruit look at you and say, I trust my future with you because? Not because you were nice to my mom on a recruiting visit, not because you said yes, ma'am, no, ma'am to my mom and dad, in a recruiting visit. It's because, oh, You have an offensive mind that is going to put me in position to get to the NFL. You have an offensive mind that's going to put me as a wide receiver in position to run routes, get the football, and better my skill set to get to the NFL. That's not Luke Fickell. That's why I worry about that. That wasn't Scott Frost at UCF. You said it, though. That is his thing. Looking at the 2 stars and developing them. But do you think Notre Dame wants to bring in a coach that's known for just taking 2 stars and developing them? They also want to know that you can balance it with going to get the Marcus Freeman, all the good players at Cincinnati. He was a part of that, getting those there. And then Fickell's, yes, good at finding the diamond in the rough, but I don't think boosters are sold on guys that make a living off of building up 2 stars. They want to know that, hey, you're going to bring in the 4s and 5s and make that 2-star into a contributing piece with those guys. That's why I'm a bigger fan of Marcus Freeman for Notre Dame than I am for Luke Fickell. That's all. Luke Fickell, Cincinnati's perfect for him for those reasons you just said. He's not expected to bring in the 4 and 5s. And when he does bring him in, it's like, oh my God, we got the 4s and 5s.
Well, in about 2 years, it will be.
Yeah. And
I'm a big Luke Fickell fan. I'm waving the UC banner, especially because the Buckeyes have, for God's sakes, lost to Michigan. Anyway, waving that UC banner and everything like that. But best believe, once you go into the Big 12, you're going to have to step up your game even more. Like, you can't just like, oh, man, I got a 4-star wide receiver. Well, we're going to need 4 4-star wide receivers.
You would think right away, just the second you become a Power 5 school, like, and I've always said this too about coaches, and this is the mindset that people have when it comes to coaches. Okay, man, and this was like Archie at UD. Man, if he can get those players to come to Dayton, and yes, the environment's amazing, great basketball city, yes, that's super. But like to get guys from Brooklyn, to get guys from all over to come to Dayton, Ohio to play basketball, guys that can go to bigger schools and play. Archie was able to sell them. Man, if he could do that in the A-10, if Archie could do that at Dayton, imagine what he could do with Indiana in the Big 10 and those resources. Some guys, it just doesn't click. Like Archie, I believe will be back in coaching at some point. I'll be very surprised if he ever gets a job as big as Indiana again, at least without turning around a program similar to UD's build, as far as like an A-10 or like an American Conference school or what have you. But like, that's what's going to be. I think that could be Fickell. I think that's Frost. I think that's Tom Herman. I think those are the type of guys that are perfect for that level of football. I just think the Marcus Freemans of the world are built for this. I can't wait, because you're only as good as the guys around you, too, from a recruiting standpoint. Marcus Freeman can recruit. Get other guys that can recruit, and everyone go recruit together. They're in good shape. Not a Notre Dame fan, by the way.
Yeah, you got to get the guys around you, and that's what Notre Dame has to do. They can't just say, all right, now we got you this big contract. They have to continue to invest in their product, and their product is football, and that entitles getting more coaches and the shadow staffs and the analysts and things of that nature. You gotta, if you really in it, be in it. Don't just halfway be in it. And I'm glad you kind of brought up the UD. I'm sure we'll talk about that later with Archie and everything. I got some thoughts about that I would like to share. In
comparison to what?
Just in comparison of him leaving UD to go to Indiana. I think in football and basketball is totally different. In basketball, we've seen many of, I don't want to upset the UD fans or anything like that, but non-Power 5 basketball teams make deep runs because they have continuity. Because like, oh man, they're rolling out 5 seniors, and then they go ahead and beat Kentucky, who has 4 freshmen and a sophomore, because they have continuity and they've been playing basketball together for years and they know everything about each other. I personally, even when Archie left, said that was a dumb move. You're going to Indiana where your expectations are, Elite 8 runs, bottom line, and get a ton of one and dones and make it work.
You have to build a program every year.
Yeah. Where at UD, they expect you to build a program. And I think that's more valuable than anything else, building up a long sustaining program with a bunch of good players that are going to be here in the community and play, and people know them. They know you. I think that was more valuable than going to Indiana. And like you said, 1,000,001 times, UD stepped up to the plate and was about to pay him the exact same, if not more money than Indiana. But he left for the glitz and glamour. You want the glitz and glamour, or do you want to win? Because you were going to win at UD because you've proven that you were going to be able to build a team, not a bunch of one and dones, not a bunch of dudes worried about getting their numbers, not a bunch of dudes worried about going to the pros. When you was getting dudes at UD, you were getting dudes to buy into the program, not into themselves, into the program. So Archie, I know you got paid. That's great. Send me a loan. I send you my cash app, but he blew it. He blew it.
I've never
not
been,
UD.
I've
UD
never,
didn't blow it. He blew it.
I've never been fired before, and when I do get fired from here, I will not get the payout that Archie got to be fired. Like,
yes, he's a legend at the bank.
I'm more jealous of Archie when he got fired than when he got hired initially, to be quite honest with you. Like,
he is a legend
smokes.
at the bank. And I just want to make this clear. He blew it. UD didn't blow it. UD stepped up to the plate and he stupidly left.
Well, that's why
dumb.
I used UD as an example the other day when I said, as far as Luke Fickell's concerned, I give Dayton all the credit in the world because there was nothing else they could have done to keep him. They renovated that damn arena. Okay. Now that's been done since he left, but the point is like that was part of the plan. Archie should have looked at that as, man, you're going to give me an opportunity to be a top 10 compensated head coach in college basketball. We're about to renovate this amazing basketball arena already into an NBA style arena, which they did since then, and it's freaking awesome. So, like, Archie knew all of that was coming, still turned it down. But you know what UD fans couldn't do is blame UD because they did everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that they put that out in the news and, out to the media about, hey, we tried to make him a top 10 compensated coach in college basketball. He still turned it down and went elsewhere. So with that, Cincinnati they better make sure they're doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. They better make sure that, hey, we love Luke Fickell. We love everything we did. We did everything we could to keep him. We tried to make him, even if they put out a number, let's say they try to pay him $7 to $8. That's still more than what Ryan Day is getting paid at Ohio State, Kev. So you pay him $7 to $8 million to coach at Cincinnati in the Big 12. I'm sorry. That's a lot of money even in the Big 12 at this point. So if I'm Cincinnati, I go down swinging. Find a way to get it done. Show your fan base that you are doing it, because when he leaves, it's going to take a step back for a bit, and that's okay. That's understandable. But when he leaves, your fan base better at least feel like you did everything you could. You might be the only team in Cincinnati that the fans actually feel like you're trying. So, and that's not fair. The Bengals have been trying. I don't like the moves they've made, but they've spent the money. I'll give them a compliment. The Bengals have, but that's not the point. I'm salty about the Reds right now. But Bearcat fans, I really hope that your team does everything they can to keep Luke Fickell. Because keep in mind, I'm not going to give Cincinnati credit, Kev, if Luke Fickell stays after this year. No. Here's why. Because Luke Fickell, it's not like he's wanting to stay in Cincinnati. If I'm not mistaken, his ass was on a private jet to Michigan State last year to interview for the job. And then when he would have been after the previous season. But he turned it down to come back this year. And look how quickly Mel Tucker turned it around. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he wasn't going to leave after last year when he knew he had a team that was capable of making the college football playoff this year. Clearly, he has done everything but say he's not going anywhere. So he's going somewhere. And if it's not this year, it's because the right opportunity didn't present itself at the right time. He's as good as gone at some point. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So what I'm saying, Kev, is the Bearcats need to do their job like the Dayton Flyers did with them. Hey, we tried. We provided him with the resources to recruit here, have a great coaching staff. He got the right players. We went to the Elite Eight. We went to all these NCAA tournaments. We tried to make him a top 10 or, one of the highest paid compensated coaches in college basketball. He turned us down. Okay, super. We did our part. Now we got to move on. Cincinnati's not doing that. I don't get the vibe that they're doing everything they can to keep Luke Fickell. And if there was ever a time to do it, it is now, especially transitioning into the Big 12. 518-1410. I know we have some calls that just got put on hold. We'll talk about that on the other side. But by the way, Flyers got another big win last night. If I'm going to be critical of Anthony Grant when they're not playing well, I got to make sure I continue to be positive when they're playing well. They look like a completely different team right now. By the way, I'm glad. Hold on.
I wonder what practice was like.
I mean, look,
because coach is so cool and laid back. He never yells. I bet you, I'm willing to bet big money, because you know where I work, I make a ton of money. I'm willing to bet practice was hell for them. Like after those losses at home to those bye-win games that they had, I'm willing to bet coach gave them a new one. I'm willing to bet dudes was running. I'm willing to bet dudes was barfing as much as he made them run for playing like that. I'm willing to bet, because coach just strikes a stand-up guy all buttoned up, shake your hand. Hey, how you doing?
Not my hand.
Nah, dude. Nah, dude. Those are coaches you don't trust. Those are coaches that when you get in practice, it's hell. I'm willing to bet, because they were terrible. And now all of a sudden they're playing good. Coach did something right in practice. I'm telling you, dude. Telling you.
Look, everything is judged off full body of work. But when we give our opinions, it's based on what's going on now. And as of right now, I've never seen the team turn it around like that. like from one game to the next, from one 3-game stretch to the next? How do you go from losing to Lipscomb, UMass Lowell, and Austin Peay to beating Miami, to beating Kansas, to beating Belmont, and then that team last night was just horrible. But it was a bye game. But that's last night. That's what a bye game is supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be an entertaining game. It's supposed to just be go to UD Arena, enjoy the environment, enjoy the screaming fans, the awesome band, enjoy the NBA style arena, watch your team kick some ass, and go home and do it all again next time. So that's what a bye game was supposed to be. But you made a good point earlier about Archie Miller at Dayton about, it wasn't going to be the same thing going to Indiana. I remember the senior day for Scoochie Smith and Kendall Pollard and Charles Cook and those guys. And I remember looking around at the fans, Kev, people bawling. Mm-hmm. Fans were bawling. Not everyone there, but I couldn't believe I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my God, sports is a cult sometimes. It really is. These people were bawling. And it wasn't family members either. These were regular fans, in the stands. Not making fun of them. I'm just that's what to be honest, I love that.
Because they know the players.
Yeah. Every year on senior day, I say I will take an A10 or a Horizon League senior day over freshman recognition day for Duke and everything else that goes on for the one and dones. Because you don't Duke fans don't have a special spot in their heart for Zion.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He came in, had a cup of tea, and left.
I remember your shoe exploded.
Yeah. So it's you don't connect with those guys like that. I was at the shot the other night for Ohio State Duke. Ohio State fans, yes, you're excited, passionate because you're watching them beat the number one team in the country. But you also have guys at Ohio State that have been around for a few years. Mm-hmm. You have Justin Arns, who's a senior. You have Liddell, who's been around for a few years as a junior. You've got to watch these guys grow. You got to watch them come in as freshmen, getting limited minutes to growing into a better player the next year. You get to be a part of their journey. You watch them come the year before their freshman year. They're sitting in a cafeteria at some random high school. And now they're playing in front of 13,000 fans and growing as each game goes on. Dayton fans, Wright State fans, Ohio State fans even, because they're not a one and done factory. They've had a couple, but not they're not viewed as the Duke and Kentuckys of the world. Those fan bases get to fall in love with those players and follow them through their journey. So you talked about that when Archie was here. You got to watch Scoochie come all the way through. You got to watch Kendall come all the way through. Charles Cook, of course, transferred in and all that stuff. But the point is you got to see these guys grow. And that's why it was emotional on those guys' senior day. I'm watching Malachi Smith now and watching Deron Holmes is a very talented team, putting pieces together still. But those two, look at what they're doing as a freshman right now. Mm-hmm. You think when they're a junior and a senior, Deron Holmes, I don't know, he might have the build and talent to maybe be around for a couple years, but my goodness. Let's say those two guys make it all 4 years. That will be an emotional goodbye here years and years down the road because we're going to remember when Malachi and Deron were, I'm telling you, when they're juniors and seniors, we're going to be like, how the hell did those two ever experience 3 straight losses to Lipscomb, Austin Peay, and UMass Lowell? Not even the right order, by the way, but you see my point. They grow together. Archie goes to Indiana, and it's, hi, my name's Coach Miller. They're gone a week later. You coach them for 1 year. They're gone. Got to bring in a whole set of new players. How can you as a coach? Archie was known for establishing a program at Dayton.
Yep.
Indiana's not a program. I know this sounds crazy, but Duke's not really a program, Kev. It's not you know what I mean? It's a basketball factory. It's not really a program. Dayton's a factory. What Anthony Grant has brewing right now at UD, that's a factory. Mid-major schools like Wright State, that's a program. You're establishing overlapping classes and all that stuff. It's a program. It's not a one-and-done factory. And that's the difference. And I think that's the biggest thing. Football is not like that. You're building a program at every level of football because you have to at least play 3 years. All right, went long. We'll be back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and windy, a high near 60. Tonight will be mostly clear, a low near 34. And tomorrow will be clear and sunny, a high near 55. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
This is Paul Keels, voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes Radio Network, reminding you that D-Max is now hiring in Moraine and Brookville. D-Max, home of the Duramax diesel engine. For current openings, go to dmaxengines.com. D-Max, your engine for success. Go Bucks.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only two places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches, weakness, or discomfort in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 selling nerve care company. Nervive contains alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, and B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live your life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com.
Wrap up the savings now during the JCPenney Friends and Family Sale. Through Wednesday, make everyone's spirit bright with an extra 30% off coupon. Pack more for less with the Protocol Simmons 5-piece luggage set, now $109.99. Plus, get glam and save up to 60% on diamond solitaires and studs. These savings are yours when you use your 30% off coupon. Joy, comfort, peace. JCPenney. Offers valid on select items through 12/8. Offers reflect after coupon savings. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
'Twas the season of cheer and joy filled the town, except for Scrooge with his perma-frown. The gift of a Peloton bike touched his soul without doubt.
Work, Peloton.
When your workout's a joy, it's a joy to work out.
You can do it.
The original Peloton bike is our best price ever, $39 a month. All access membership separate. Terms apply. See website for details.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard. Aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
It's the most wonderful time of the year and time for the legendary Buckman's D&D Harley-Davidson Christmas Open House event. Starting on Friday, December 10th through Sunday, December 12th. Take 20% off licensed products, 10% off aftermarket non-Harley-Davidson parts, free gift wrapping, and photos with Santa on Saturday, December 11th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Buckman's D&D Harley-Davidson in Xenia.
You may have heard that Allstate has new low auto rates, but isn't it time to see for yourself? Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine, OGW Energy Resources, Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, and Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. We appreciate all of our sponsors that help bring you the show weekdays from 3 to 6. So it's either we could thank them for bringing you the show or you can blame them that there's a show. I don't know how you guys look at it, but appreciate our sponsors nonetheless. So before we transition out of this conversation, I want to make sure we get to the phones. 518-1410, 518-1410. Kev, where do we start?
Steve, line 2.
Steve on line 2. How are you, sir?
Ed, line 3.
All right, we go to Ed. Ed, how are you?
Pretty good. The first thing I have to ask you guys is Luke Fickell still a coach at UC as of right now?
As of right now, yeah.
I mean, I just, the Marcus Freeman at Cincinnati or at Notre Dame, I don't know how that's going to work out. I was hoping Ohio State could get him to be the coordinator. I'm sure they're going to pay him more money in Notre Dame. I don't know how that will work out. He's never been a head coach. And
how'd it work for Ryan Day? How'd it work for Lincoln Riley? Nick Saban at one point got a job and wasn't a head coach before.
Yeah. Well, I guess my big question, going to UD is, can they still make the NIT, or are those losses too bad even to make the NIT? I mean, is there a possibility they can still?
Do you mean why the NIT? Why?
Hey, we skipping over
one? I mean, I don't think you can lose to Lipscomb and make the NCAA tournament. I mean, unless they win the rest of their games, which I don't know.
Look, they've won 4 straight, and I still don't think we know exactly who they are. But the one thing that Flyers fans have to feel good about is that the last time we saw them play poorly against Austin Peay, that's the last time we saw them play poorly. Now, you could talk about, they didn't play crisp against Kansas. They turned the ball over a ton against Kansas. But they're a young team. They're going to turn the ball over a lot. There are excuses I allow when you want to talk about the youth of a team and how young they are. They're going to turn the ball over. They might kind of fold in crunch time of tight games. Like, that's where you really could tell where youth comes into play. You don't lose those 3 straight games to those bad teams because of youth. There just was talent issues. There was coaching issues. There was, chemistry issues. But with what we've seen, I'm not ready to say that they're for sure an NCAA tournament team. They still have to go out and prove it. Northern Illinois coming up. They're at SMU. They got Virginia Tech, Ole Miss, and then they're into A10 play. So they still have a couple challenging non-con opponents to kind of build up the net rating a little bit and then to take care of business in the A10. There'll be some opportunities there, hopefully. But no, I don't think they're a lock for anything. NIT, most likely a lock for that, but I don't think any Flyer fan is striving for the NIT. This is a team that wants to get to the NCAA tournament. And yes, you win your conference tournament, you're set. But I think an at-large bid is very, very unlikely right now, but there's still time to make up for that and possibly get back in that conversation, especially with Virginia Tech and Ole Miss and SMU coming up around the corner.
I hope Fickle stays in Cincinnati just to honor those kids that played the whole season. But he'd be kind of crazy not to even take a call from. I mean, because if he don't, with all those seniors leaving this year, Cincinnati's not. I mean, this is his. If Fickle wants to make top dollar, he's got to jump now because next year Cincinnati ain't going undefeated. Sorry to tell you.
I don't think he's leaving. When you talk about him leaving, I mean, there's always a chance he could leave after Saturday if the result's not, going to be one that puts him in the playoff. I still think that even, if he. And by the way, with the heat that all the other coaches have taken for leaving with the season still a game left to go, Fickle better not leave after the play or after the championship game on Saturday. He better stick it out and coach the final game for them one way or another. But the bottom line is it's Thursday. They kick off on Saturday. I don't think we're going to see a Brian Kelly situation where he takes another job with the game still remaining. Brian Kelly made it easier for him. They don't have a game this weekend. So it made it easier for him. Same thing with Oklahoma. They don't have a game this weekend. Kev, I'm curious if Notre Dame, well, they're not in a conference, so they don't matter. But if Oklahoma's in the Big 12 championship like we expected coming in, is Lincoln Riley taking that USC job at the time that he did?
No.
Yeah.
He plays it out. He plays out the regular season. And after the game, we get all this breaking news like Lincoln Riley accepts the job at USC. That's what would happen. He'd have played it out. He'd have played it out.
No, I think I would coach the guys at Cincinnati because Fickle's making, I don't know, he's making over $2 million, isn't he? But I mean, to make the serious, if he wants to coach at Notre Dame, make the serious money, he better go now because like I said, next year Cincinnati ain't going undefeated next year.
So he would be a worse coach next year? I don't think it'd be a worse coach next year.
No, but they got like 36 seniors. They're losing like a lot of guys. The cover's going to be a little bare next year. So what I'm saying is, if he wants to take and I hope he doesn't go to Notre Dame, but if he wants to take another job, make more money, he's got to do it pretty quick here.
Well, Marcus Freeman has a Notre Dame job. You don't have to worry about that. But
so we'll see what happens. This has been an interesting week, and we'll see what happens. Hey, thanks for getting me on, guys.
Ed, there's someone on our Facebook page that they think you sound like Nick Saban. Has anyone ever said you talk like Nick Saban?
I could go on about Nick Saban.
Maybe this is Nick Saban.
I mean, the reason you guys were asking, the reason I just cannot stand the fact that everybody thinks he's the greatest coach in the world. When he was at Michigan State, he was about a 500 coach. He went down to Alabama. They paid recruits. And, they won multiple national championships, out recruiting everybody in the SEC because of money. That's all I got to say about it.
How do you know Ohio State's not doing that in the Big Ten?
I'm sure they've done it, but they didn't get caught. They got caught on tape.
If Alabama got caught, Nick Saban.
Alabama got caught on tape, and the NCAA won't investigate it because now we're NIL. We're not. I don't see why they can't go 3 years down the road and say, hey, they were paying recruits, put them on probation for 10 years. But the NCAA doesn't want to do that.
How do you know that?
So,
how do you know that? How do you know they don't want to do that?
I know the NCAA doesn't have anything to do with college football anymore. When was the last time you heard from Mark Emmert? Never.
I get it, but Ed, we'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Don't you dare.
518-1410 now. Well, so Morgan Garber on Facebook, he said, is this Nick Saban calling in? And I never thought of that. But after he said that, I'm
exactly.
Like, all I kept picturing was Nick Saban talking the whole time.
Talking with his hands.
Yeah. So quit asking.
I'm not gonna. So quit asking.
Oh,
Maybe that is Nick Saban. Maybe he really likes the show.
Doubt it.
Maybe he listens to us on the treadmill.
Aye. Holy moly. Mark Smith said, definitely not Nick Saban. Well, we know it's not Nick Saban, but I mean, I think his voice sounded very similar. Like, I never thought about it, but Morgan pointed it out. I'm like, you know what? It kind of has, I think we need some liners lined up for old Ed Saban. Maybe it's Nick Saban's brother, but, whatever.
That would be spectacular. We definitely need to do that. Especially like, remember, did what's the name ever call in? Steve from Springboro, did he ever call in?
I haven't heard from Steve from Springboro in a while.
Oh, okay.
The Browns, when's the last time they won, though? The Lions, to be fair, the Lions win.
Game.
That didn't count. That felt like a loss.
Hey, it counts.
The last win the Browns had was the Bengals.
Did he call in after that? He didn't call in after that.
No, he did call in after that.
Oh, my goodness.
But, yeah. I went a whole 3 hours yesterday. Didn't talk any Bengals, any Browns, by the way. So, just saying. All right. 518-1410 is the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash. We'll be back in a moment. The Browns.
Who they think gonna beat them Bengals? River Run is where we play. Ankles back to you to stay. Who they think gonna beat them Bengals? Nobody!
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
From city streets to back roads, from road warrior to carpooler, there are some things you can always count on, like the reliability, durability, and power of DieHard, America's most trusted auto battery. No matter where your journey takes you, count on DieHard to get you started on the road ahead. Available at your local Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest stores.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only two places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus, home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well, medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
If you're looking to satisfy those comfort food cravings, we've got just what you're looking for. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, homestyle happens here with our 12-piece strips meal for only $32.99. Warm up with a big helping of homestyle. Enjoy 12 all-white meat golden brown breast strips, 3 large freshly prepared sides, and 6 fluffy biscuits. It's the family meal everyone will love. Get a homestyle meal made easy with our 12-piece strips meal for only $32.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers here to tell you about OGW Energy Resources. If you own a home or a business and want to save money, then going solar with OGW Energy Resources is the way to go. OGW Energy Resources have been helping the Miami Valley save money by going solar for over 14 years. There is no better time than now to look into going solar. For more information, check out their website at ogwenergyresources.com. Go solar today. OGW Energy Resources. Your energy, your future. Control it.
You may have heard that Allstate has new low auto rates, but isn't it time to see for yourself? Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's 4:49 here in the Gem City, and I wonder. So I just saw Antonio Brown got suspended 3 games of the NFL without pay for lying about his vaccination status. So interesting. I wonder if he will watch the Buccaneers games over the next couple of weeks, or if he'll be like Shaw, where he won't watch his team at all. I don't know. Makes you wonder.
I can't believe the NFL really did the honor system. I figured the NFL would be like, yeah, we got to see it.
The NFL don't care. And now the NFL, they're being forced. They're only mad at him. They're only mad at him for lying about his vaccination status because now they have to pretend to care and suspend him. It's been about money from the very beginning. And
Mike Edwards as well from Tampa Bay. He's been suspended as well.
Interesting.
Like, I don't know. I would figure if never mind. It's never.
No, but you're right. The honor system, like, hey, you good? Yep, I got the poke, and then you just move on with your day. Like, right. Well, it's quite the screening process there, buddy. Holy moly. Well, I mean, I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can suspend somebody for it, then shouldn't you be saying like, all right, we want to see the vaccination card and proof that you got it?
Well, he had a fake vaccination card. That's the problem. That's why he's in trouble. It was a fake. It's not just that he lied. He had the fake vaccine card. And to be honest, I forgot about that.
That's right. I do remember that. That was like 2 weeks ago. Okay.
You know what? It's a good point. Scott Campbell just said, "Do you have to hide your bobbleheads now because of the Reds?" I never thought about that, but you know what?
Get us in trouble. I see
a
former player,
Johnny Bench, Barry Larkin. Huh.
Chapman over there on your right shoulder.
Yeah, I don't know why the hell I still have this thing. This thing, I don't even know where I got this. I have no clue where I got it. I remember, but those were the days, man. We're old as Chapman, baby. Hoo-ya. Let's see. In the back, they have Manny Machado on here still with the Orioles. Matt Harvey was with the Mets. Ricky Henderson, they did that Cooperstown collection with the A's, and Miguel Cabrera with the Tigers. I mean, man, baseball changes so much and very quickly.
Go Tigers.
Okay, go Tigers. So there you go. So if you're wondering, with the lockout in full effect, by the way, we got an email from the Reds earlier today as a Reds affiliate saying that we had to scrub our websites of any players, any audio, any video. We're not allowed to have anything referencing the Cincinnati Reds on our site, which I just found Interesting. I don't care one way or another right now because I find this stage in baseball history interesting. Baseball is only relevant when there's a scandal. If it wasn't for banging on trash cans and sign stealing, if it wasn't for wiping goop on your neck, if it wasn't for, injecting random stuff into your arm, if it wasn't for any betting on baseball, if it wasn't for Pete Rose, Barry Bonds, and the Houston Astros, baseball, no one would give two rips about it. Like, we only talk about baseball when there's something going wrong. Like football, we talk about the bad and the good. We talk a lot about, in football, we debate the on-play field constantly. Like, that's how you know you have a healthy sport, when the competitiveness of the on-field stuff is what you spend the most time talking about. That means you have a healthy sport. All right? The NBA is a healthy sport. Yes, NBA has a lot of stuff that it's known for off the court that people talk about, but ultimately, maybe not so much here in Dayton because we don't have a big NBA presence. But at the same time, if you listen to national radio, they're talking on-court NBA. They're talking LeBron. They're talking Chris Paul. They're talking Kawhi Leonard. They're talking everything, right? The same thing in the NFL. Those are the two most healthiest sports. They have issues, don't get me wrong. The NFL is almost bulletproof. College football, we talk about the on-field stuff. We talk about the college football playoff. Sure, the rankings aren't necessarily on the field, but that's based on what's on the field. We're talking steroids with baseball. We're talking trash cans. We're talking we're talking gunk wiped on people's necks. We like the fact that now when you watch a player scratch himself, you have to wonder if his balls itch or if he's just trying to get the upper hand on something. No pun intended. You see what I did there? Like, you know what I mean?
Dump button.
Is he scratching himself or is he trying to, put something on his hands to be able to give an advantage on the mound? You have no idea. Like, baseball is a joke. It's an embarrassing sport, and it frustrates the hell out of me because I love the Reds. I love baseball season. When we get into January, I'm going to get that itch of like, oh man, it's January. Spring training technically starts next week. We'll have to be talking about the Reds caravan. They're going to be heading to Arizona. We're going to be talking about spring training. And then I get to spring training. We get tired after the first week, and then we're just ready for the games that matter. Then we start debating, then we start doing the usual, talking about stupid advanced analytics. I wonder what kind of, combinations that they're going to play with this year. I wonder, 4-man rotation, 5-man rotation. Do they even have enough good pitchers to make a 5-man rotation? I mean, if they have a 3-man in rotation, I'll be impressed. I mean, that's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, baseball is unhealthy. It's not a good sport anymore. It's fun. I love baseball when it's healthy, but it's not healthy right now. There is so many great stars in baseball today, but they don't feel big. They don't feel like superstars. Baseball doesn't have a LeBron. Baseball doesn't have a Tom Brady. And let's forget the two age stars. Baseball doesn't have a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Baseball doesn't have the Justin Herberts and Joe Burrows of the world, right? Like, they don't have those young stars that are helping carry the sport. Baseball is a disaster. Baseball is only relevant when there is a disaster. You have to cheat. You have to steal. You have to not steal bases to make the sport bad. You have to, I just don't get it. Lockdowns, shutdowns, whatever. This is a disaster. It really is. It's a mess.
Not good. Not good at all, especially because I just spent $200 at the Cleveland Guardians team shop last night. So, way to go.
Doug Toby says, did you hear that Castellini sold an $85 million resort in Arizona? Well, maybe he'll use that money to go get Nick Castellanos when we come out of this break by mid-July. So we'll see what ends up happening. I did not know that, but to be honest, Doug, he sells that $85 million resort in Arizona. I wonder what he'll do with his other two. I mean, that's the thing. These guys have money. It is what it is. All right, folks, 518-1410, 518-1410. I mean, we've been kind of all over today. I appreciate the calls and Facebook interaction, but let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Chris. Chris, thanks for holding. How are you, sir?
Well, how are you?
Good. You were the one that wanted to call about Marcus Freeman, correct?
Absolutely. So, a little feedback about Marcus. I went to Wayne High School with him. I played with him. I played with his brother. Marcus was a phenom. He grew up. I've never seen a growth from 8th grade to freshman year like I did him. He went from a chubby, short kid to all of a sudden he's Debo in high school as a freshman. I played with him for Wayne. So local guy, super proud. I want to say it was his freshman or sophomore year, he actually put A.J. Hawk out of his senior year for the rest of the season because he already committed to Ohio State off one vicious hit I was involved with. I'm not going to go into detail on that, but this is what I want to say. Marcus Freeman, I'm sad and extremely happy. So my Facebook's been blowing up with, obviously with people I went to school with, everybody congratulating him, everything else. It's bittersweet. I would have loved to see him get a defensive coordinator opportunity, such as a lot of people else, at Ohio State. Just to build his resume that way. But I'm telling you, knowing Marcus, his brother Mike, his father Mike, and the family he comes from, dude, he is 100% great human being. Football acumen's there. He was bred to do it. He's going to do it. I can't wait. I have to say I'm kind of a Notre Dame fan just because of Marcus. I followed him through his college career. So close with his brother. So close with his family. Great guy. But I'm super excited. But like I said, it's bittersweet because I want him to get that defensive coordinator role at Ohio State and build himself up there. But stepping stone is a stepping stone, and everybody needs one. He's going to take his opportunity and run with it. As far as your baseball acumen you were talking about earlier, I'd rather watch paint dry than watch baseball. I'm 110% with you. Unless there's a scandal or something, no one cares. It's all about football, sometimes basketball, maybe the Olympics every 4 years, whatever the case may be. But I want to give Marcus Freeman a shout out, Wayne High School a shout out, Wayne Warriors. Everybody involved, congratulations. Marcus, you're going to dominate and make a name for yourself like everybody always has expected you to.
Chris, question. How surreal is it? Because I'm thinking back to like my high school days, and like the most famous person I went to high school with, Allie Clifton. She works for the Lakers. She used to be the sideline reporter for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and now she's with Spectrum Sports over in Los Angeles. And she's been a part of like LeBron's inner circle for quite some time. But like when I watch her work with those guys, I'm like, holy crap, man! I used to sit with her in journalism class. Like, you know what I mean? We had the same classes. Like, it's so straight. That's like as close I can relate to this situation for you as possible. How crazy! You said you've been a part of his journey the whole way. You've witnessed it up close. Like, how crazy is that to your high school days, the high school memories? Never would have thought in a million years that you were playing and standing next to a guy in high school that was going to be the future head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. How crazy and surreal is that for you?
It's super crazy, especially since the guy owes me $2.
I don't know if he's good for it. Is he good for it?
He should be by now. Interest and everything else, I'll take $9. We'll call it even.
Fun discount. I like it.
Absolutely. He's it's tremendous. It's tremendous for the area. It's tremendous for the Miami Valley itself. I coached youth football. My son's now an 8th grader, getting ready to make that high school transition. And I loved it. Everybody loves a sport that's played it, guaranteed. But he just brought a different acumen to it as a young age. So I guarantee he's going to go in to the position at Notre Dame and just express the love, the knowledge, and the know-how to succeed. And not only just on the field, but in life. Like, that's just the kind of guy he is. Known him for a long time. It's super cool, especially for the area, the Miami Valley area. It's awesome. It's an honor. And I love the fact that I can say, hey, I used to play football with this guy. We banged a couple times, and like I said, I've never seen a transition from 8th grade to his freshman year. With his growth, like it was crazy. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, Marcus, what happened to you? But absolutely stud, smart football acumen's there, and I cannot wait to see what he does leading my so-called second
your adoptive team.
Yeah, go Irish, go.
All right, hey, thank you. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate that insight. Take care.
Absolutely, thank you.
518-1410. Yeah, look, and by the way, that's the crazy thing too. Like, Wayne High School.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you always have your candidates of guys that you are pulling for to get certain jobs and stuff, but like, he played at Wayne. Like, he's from this area and he's the head coach at Notre Dame. Like, that is crazy. Hell of an accomplishment. But everyone out there, I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing about the age. I'm tired of it.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing. You can either coach or you can't. And it wouldn't matter if Marcus Freeman fails at Notre Dame. It's not because of his age. It's just because he can coach or he can't coach. And by the way, I'm putting all my money on him succeeding at Notre Dame. So with that being said, if you are a 45-year-old coach getting your first opportunity to lead a team and you have all that experience and you fail, like, is Scott Frost a failure in his 40s because he can't figure it out at Nebraska? It's because he just couldn't do it. It had nothing to do with his age.
Right.
So age has nothing to do with it. And like that's the lazy way of saying that you don't know enough about Marcus Freeman to know whether he'll be successful or not. And my counter argument to that always is, you guys keep saying Luke Fickell will be a home run, and I'm like, I'm not anti Luke Fickell, but I'm not going to let you tell me that Marcus Freeman's not going to be good at Notre Dame, and that Luke Fickell will be good. Like you know what I mean? Like that's why I get annoyed with that type of stuff. It's like, you can't tell me that Luke Fickell's going to be good. You just know it, but you're not sure about Marcus Freeman. Like that doesn't fly with me. It just doesn't. But 518-1410, Kev, let's go to Ron. Ron, how are you, sir?
Good, bud. How you doing, Justin and Kevin?
Good.
Let me ask you guys a question. Why do you think the Reds cannot sell out or even have 10,000 people in the stands during a weekday game?
That's a random question for December, but what do you like? What do you mean? First of all, they average about 20,000 fans, which isn't something to brag about. So it's more than 10, but I mean, we're talking, it's not that really big of a deal. Look, they're not drawing fans because the ownership's not giving them reasons to come out to the ballpark. I did call out fan attendance for the Reds. I went to a series, like this is before they started crapping the bed in the final month and a half of the season. They were in, they held the first wild card spot, or they've held a wild card spot. Sorry. Yeah. They were locked in. They had a couple game lead in the wild card. And at that time, it felt like the Reds were going to be able to secure that because they had added bullpen pitching, and it looked as if the offense was going to match it, especially when you had Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, hitting the snot out of the ball at that time, and no one was still at the ballpark. So it's not even a matter of them not having, the ownership needs to give a competitive team for the fans to go. Fans weren't even going when they were competitive. So I don't know. I think I need to see more years of that being the case before I say that it's a bigger problem. But I do think that, it being 95 degrees and humid had something to do with it too. But the ownership needs to give Reds fans a reason to go, and they're not doing that right now.
But my part of that question is, why do Bengals sell out every Sunday compared to Reds?
They don't sell out every Sunday. But look, let's be clear. Hold up. Now, it's different, though, because you only get 8 chances to watch the Bengals during the year. You get 80 chances to watch the Reds. So when the Bengals play at home on Sunday, you're like, well, we have nothing going on this Sunday. We better go because there's not that many chances for us to go. That might be our last free Sunday to go to a game, or you know what I mean? For the Reds, it's, oh man, it's game 2. Well, we still have 78. We still have 77 more games that we could pick from to go to moving forward. I just think it's an urgency thing is all.
I think the city of Cincinnati builds around the Bengals more than they do the Reds. I think some games. I mean, some anchorages, the Bengals have more of a draw than the Reds do, and that's pretty sad. I think anyway.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Bengals. When I said earlier, the Reds need to give the fans a reason to go to the ballpark. Sometimes having a good team doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to get fans to the ballpark. Who is your draw? As much as I like to poke fun at Joe Burrow, I know the kid's the real deal. So just relax, Bengals fans. I'm going to be real for a moment here. Joe Burrow is why people are going to that ballpark, because the Bengals were really, really good when they had Andy Dalton. But there was times where it's like, okay, is there a draw to go? Did I say ballpark? You know what the hell I meant. Andy Dalton was really good. That still didn't drive people to the stadium. There were times during that stretch where I'm like, what more can you ask for to go watch the Bengals when they're one of the best teams in football during that 5-year playoff stretch? I'm not saying they struggled putting fans in the stands, but at the same time, the hype wasn't not even close to what it is now. Joe Burrow is the reason people are going to these games. The Reds don't have that Joe Burrow. Maybe they have something close in Jonathan India that they could build around, but there's something different about Joe Burrow that's the big difference maker right there.
Right now, I think the big draw for the Reds is Votto. Votto's on his tail end of his career. Who's next for the big draw for the Reds? Is it India?
I mean, maybe it could have been Castellanos. It should have been the 2 biggest fan favorites that the Reds have had over the last 3 years has been Yasiel Puig. They didn't even try. They moved on from him. And Nick Castellanos. Those have been the 2 biggest fan favorites that the Reds have had. Every time the Reds get a player that the fans love, and like Trevor Bauer and stuff, they move on from him. They don't make any attempt to keep him. And then they wonder why no one has any interest in going to the ballpark. Because there's good players, and then there's players who are your draws. Yasiel Puig wouldn't even been one of the top players on the roster, but he's a draw. He would move jerseys. He's a guy that gets people. Yeah, he gets people's attention. Same thing with Trevor Bauer. Same thing with Nick Castellanos. And the last 3 years that the Reds have had a big name, they let him go and don't even attempt to keep him. And that's what's sad and frustrating.
I get it.
Yeah, but
I'm a Reds fan too. But but these years now they're on strike. So be it. Do your strike thing, man. I root for the freaking Dragons.
Hey, man, good. Hey, I appreciate you calling, Ron. Have a good night, all right?
All right, buddy. Take care, guys.
518-1410, 518-1410. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. That Marcus Freeman call a little bit ago. Glad he brought that up because we had gotten away from it for a bit, but it's still that's huge. Marcus Freeman being there. Last thing on that before we get back to the calls. You want to have concerns about Marcus Freeman, fine, but you can't convince me that you're concerned about Marcus Freeman because of his age, but Luke Fickell's age guarantees that he would have success here. That's not always the case. There was a lot of experienced coaches like Charlie Weiss and others that came to Notre Dame that failed in years past. And that dude had plenty of years of experience. You could either coach or you can't. Age has nothing to do with it as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. We talked about this in hour one. Lincoln Riley was 31 when he took over. Ryan Day was 38. Dabo was 39. Like, all these dudes won. So, like, the age has nothing to do with it. Now, if you want to talk about, like, oh, man, you would have preferred someone that actually has head coaching experience and running a show, okay, we can have that conversation. But actual age, no. 35 years old, has been coaching in college. He was a grad assistant at Ohio State, like, in 2010. So this is 11 years in this. He's been in the job for 11 years. He's been under Luke Fickell, under Urban Meyer, been under a lot of different guys that he's learned from. So he's ready. Let's do this.
518-1410. Let's go to Nick. Nick, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, so you guys are making the comparison to Marcus to the three young guys that you guys just talked about. And what's the one thing that they had that Notre Dame doesn't have?
Conference championship,
Exactly.
championships.
Right.
Should I keep going?
Well, no, conference. That's my thing with Marcus. Obviously, I've known Marcus for a long time. He's going to be a great coach. Problem is, Notre Dame has a history of chewing up first-time head coaches because of the expectations. And the fact is, you think about Lincoln Riley's first year, they lost to Ohio State at home. They lost a couple other games, but they still were able to win out the Big 12. So he had a successful year, right?
Right.
Same thing with Dabo, right? They won that ACC pretty quickly because of the way the ACC was. So that's the only thing I don't like about Marcus taking the first job at Notre Dame. Is he prepared for it? Absolutely. He's been under great coaches. And just so you know, Kevin, Purdue job wasn't the year the Ohio State got beat by Purdue. It was 2018. He was there 2016.
Okay.
Come on, Kevin, get it together.
My only thing is that with Marcus, though, is he's been with guys that he was associated with either from Ohio State or in that kind of concert. Ryan Day, his advantage was he kind of spent a year or two in the NFL. He built a good network to bring in other coaches. That's what I want to see if what Marcus can do is bringing in these outside coaches that he's not going to have maybe a great relationship with and how they interact with him.
That's legit. That's legit right there. We talk about this all the time, Kenner, about, having that faculty around you. Well, as the head coach, you're responsible for having that Rolodex of names that you can call up when your offensive coordinator gets that position or gets a head coaching job. So now you have to fill that position. Is your Rolodex thick enough for you to call somebody else to fill that position? And are they a good fit for what you got going on? So, yeah, that's legit. See, and those are the type of things that I'm if people want to have a conversation about him succeeding or not succeeding, those are the things that I understand where people will have some reservations, as opposed to, oh, man, he's only 35. What?
Yeah,
what does that have to do with anything?
I agree with that 100%. The age has nothing to do with it. In fact, I think he's going to be more successful because, especially with athletes today, the younger the coach, the better they're going to be able to relate to more, right?
Yeah, we're seeing that in college basketball. I know there's not a lot of crossover between the sports as far as comparison-wise, but the one thing that does not change is, can you relate? And we're seeing the young coaches have more success in basketball now than ever before, mainly because they're actually given the chance. The reason you didn't see young coaches in college basketball back in the day is because they weren't given the shot, right? Like, you had to earn your stripes a little bit. Now they're kind of going off of the relatability type of thing, like, because they know relationships are what matter more than anything else in recruiting. And now you're seeing younger coaches, first-year coaches get more opportunities than ever before. And I think college football is slowly starting to follow some of that same pattern. And when you have guys like Ryan Day who've knocked it out of the park, and Lincoln Riley, and Dabo, who had a few more years to establish himself and wasn't expected to be great right off the bat, give them time, they'll be fine. I think Marcus Freeman I think he's a great hire for Notre Dame. I'm pretty jazzed.
Oh, absolutely. And that caller talked about Marcus's growth from 8th and 9th. That 9th grade year, he played more on the defensive line for Wayne. And he went against a guy in the playoffs, a guy by the name of Simon Frazier, who went on to be a stud at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And I got to meet him, and all he talked about was how much trouble Marcus, a freshman, gave him. So, you knew it right then and there he was a special talent.
It's going to be interesting, though, but it is really cool seeing them get that opportunity. Selfishly, of course, I wanted him as the DC in Columbus. And by the way, I already saw some of the blogger sites defending Ryan Day for not even trying to get Marcus Freeman, which is really annoying. Like, there was never a realistic chance he can get him. Well, many people didn't think there was a realistic chance LSU can get him, but they made it public that they were going after him aggressively to at least check off those boxes. I'm a little frustrated with how Ryan Day has just been kind of, and maybe there is action going on behind the scenes, but it's been quiet. But they let stuff get out to the media all the time. Why would they not let it get out now that they're aggressively trying to revamp the defense? They got to start doing something. I don't care that there's still a game left, possibly a playoff. Like, they're sitting on their hands and the good talent's going away.
There's a talented young coach at Notre Dame with Ohio roots. His name's Mike Mickens. Make the call, Ryan Day.
I don't know. Loyal to a fault. He got that from Urban. We'll see what happens.
Well, somebody got to be the Notre Dame defensive coordinator. If the head coach is now,
I was going to say,
so he's probably going to give him that job. Like, well,
aye. Hey, good hearing from you, man.
Right, exactly.
Thanks,
see you, Nick.
You've been getting hung up on today.
I mean, these people can't wait to hang up on my ass. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm trying to. And by the way, when I talk to, like, Nora drives me nuts on the phone when I talk to her. Like, we talk on our car phones. Like, if I'm driving, she drives. Like, I don't know why this bugs me is when people don't hang up. Like, they want me to hang up. And I don't know why that irritates me.
No, you hang up.
So,
you hang up.
No, and it ain't one of that cute little things. We've been together 9 years. That cutesy-wootsy stuff's out the window. So, like, I'm like, all right, I'll talk to you later. She goes, okay, bye. And then, like, you could, she just doesn't hit the hang up. I'm like, hang up. She goes, why do you hang up? I'm like, I don't know. It's a control thing. Just hang up the damn phone. And there you go. But these people, maybe Nora just loves me so much that she just can't.
Apparently so.
That's
She's
what it
marrying
is.
you for
That's
some
what
strange
it is.
reason. Praying for her.
Doug Toby. Good thing the organization was smart enough to take. Oh, here we go. My goal was to go 2 days without talking Browns Bengals, without, like, we touched on them a few times, but, like, I even said something nice earlier, and look, Kev, still saying stupid things. So he says, good thing the organization was smart enough to take Jamar Chase instead of Penei Sewell. Chase on a 14 touchdown pace. People need to admit that they were not right. Your quarterback is still the third most sacked quarterback in the National Football League. Over 30 plus times he's been sacked. Okay. And by the way, now that your team has figured out that when they let Joe Burrow throw more than 30 times that they suck and they have to throw the ball less than 30 times to be effective, and Jamar Chase has not been explosive for almost a month now. I mean, ever since that Browns game, and he wasn't anything against the Browns. He hasn't done squat since then. So, yes, he's been very average. You guys are still bragging about the heavy numbers that he put on to start the season. He hasn't really been that dangerous over the last month. So, don't even. Penei Sewell would have at least protected your quarterback because the O-line is still garbage at this point. So, hey, you're the third most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Congratulations. Yeah, you're not going to win that one with me. I had every intention of not talking Browns-Bengals today, Kev, and they can't help themselves. And then
sure
I get
didn't
blamed.
Sound like that. It sounded like you had that locked and loaded.
I've been sitting on it, waiting for boobs like that to talk about, Jamar Chase. I know Jamar Chase is really, really good, but protecting your investment. But actually, you know what? You don't need to protect a quarterback who only throws the ball 20 plus times a game. You need to protect the real quarterbacks who are actually capable of throwing the football more than 30 times a game and leading their teams to victory. So you guys started it, not me. I just got done earlier complimenting Joe Burrow. Kev, you heard me. I'm not trying to stir the pot today. All right. I'm just trying to have a cool, calm, and collected day. Guys like Doug Toby, they know what they're doing, and he wins. So it is what it is. So
thanks,
there
Doug.
You go.
Thanks.
Aye.
Left me to deal with this mess.
And now Josh says, "Who day?" He says, let's get it. And then he says, hey, where are the Browns and Steelers ranked in the AFC North? Hey, it's the first week of December. It doesn't matter where you're at right now. You guys are freaking weird, man. Like a month and a half ago, we're in first place. It was week 7. I was like, you guys are dumb. There's still 10 weeks left of the season. You're bragging. You don't hang banners for where you're at in week 7. You don't hang banners for where you're at in week 13. Finish the deal. Close it out. Learn how to beat the Browns, would you? My goodness. I mean, I can't wait for this weekend. One of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, Justin Herbert and the Chargers going up against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Can't wait. I can't wait. And, you get to see a real quarterback, Justin Herbert. Just saying, the guy that can actually throw the football and not have to be limited to under 30 pass attempts so he doesn't hurt his team. Yeah, keep on bragging. See, Mark Smith says you're going to stroke out.
Y'all know what to do in the chat.
Oh, here it is. Too much attention on Jamar Chase. Now everybody else. You don't need to pay attention to Jamar Chase. You know that Joe Burrow's going to throw the football to the other team. Gosh, people. All right. Oh, David Shaw's still around. Just he put the pill emojis in. He still has the Michigan. Shaw, I'm not talking to you until you take the Michigan photo off your profile picture. You're a fake Michigan fan. Even Jason Fitz said the same thing. He's a fake Michigan fan. You can't sit there and say, I'm not going to watch the game because I'm afraid to watch my team lose. And then when you do watch the game and your team wins, I missed your Facebook profile picture, Michigan now. He's blowing up everyone's Twitter pages. Just tweet. I mean, my goodness.
Okay.
Oh, now he says you're both liars.
Pardon? We got the tape.
We got both liars.
Both. Goodness gracious, Shaw.
You're a liar. You say you're a Michigan fan. Give me a break.
Oh, goodness gracious.
That's him on hold too, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, well, he can wait a little. He waited 10 years to watch his team win. He can wait 5 more minutes for a commercial break. We'll be back in a moment.
Oh, Lord.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Take home Frickers Holiday Feast. Frickin' yum, 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 yum. Our gift cards always please. Frickin' yum, 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 yum.
Take home 4 pounds of frickin' chicken chunks for only $29.99, carry out only. Buy a $25 Frickers gift card and you'll get 5 frickin' bonus bucks free. The ho, ho, ho! For fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Frickin' yum, yum.
You may have heard that Allstate has new low auto rates, but isn't it time to see for yourself? Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Buying a car on the internet, this is for you.
Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. If you're buying a car online, here are a few easy steps to keep yourself safe. Just remember CAR. C, contact the seller to confirm their identity. A, assignment, a title free and clear of liens and properly assigned. R, research. Find a way to pay for the car by using a secure method where you can dispute the charge in case of fraud. Call us at 225-4480.
Brought to you by Montgomery County Clerk of Courts, Mike Foley.
With the new law, more people qualify for financial assistance at healthcare.gov. Real customers like Taylor.
You know, I wish people knew how easy it was to get health coverage. This new law has made it so affordable. I'm only paying $52 a month, but there are quality plans for even less.
New law, lower prices, more people qualify. Enroll by December 15th at healthcare.gov.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Staples Connect is a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and windy, a high near 60. Tonight will be mostly clear, a low near 34. And tomorrow will be clear and sunny, a high near 55. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 1,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only two places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
O'Reilly. This is Claudia's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
I had just moved to a new city and barely even knew where the grocery store was yet. When my car wouldn't start one morning, I didn't know who to ask about local shops. But I remembered a name from back home, O'Reilly Auto Parts. I called and they pointed me to a great mechanic just down the street. Now I feel a little more at home.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches, weakness, or discomfort in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 selling nerve care company. Nervive contains alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, and B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live your life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com.
Wrap up the savings now during the JCPenney Friends and Family Sale. Through Wednesday, make everyone's spirit bright with an extra 30% off coupon. Pack more for less with the Protocol Simmons 5-piece luggage set, now $109.99. Plus, get glam and save up to 60% on diamond solitaires and studs. These savings are yours when you use your 30% off coupon. Joy, comfort, peace. JCPenney. Offers valid on select items through 12/8. Offers reflect after coupon savings. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is Todd has AT&T 5G. It is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Hey, I'm College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers, and I'm here with John Glazier from Glazier Soft Water. Did you know we are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Yes, I did. But did you know that Glazier Soft Water is the home of the 7-year worry-free parts and labor warranty? We've been making water great since 1988. What were you doing in 1988?
That was my third year in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. I had 10 touchdowns that season, and we made the playoffs in 1988.
So you can say that we both have been doing great since 1988. Glazier Soft Water. Glazier Water is better water.
Hustler Turf commercial mowers are built tough to work hard. Whether you need a fleet of mowers or are a one-man show, you don't have time for downtime. Hustler mowers are over-engineered, overbuilt, and tested well beyond what is required with the most complete lineup in the industry, including exclusives like a 104-inch Super 104, an 88-inch stand-on, and industry-leading warranties. Hustler mowers are ready to handle what you throw at them. Build your fleet to be reliable and versatile with Hustler Turf. Visit Small Engine Service Pros in New Carlisle today.
Some people think fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Well, it hasn't taken long for Lincoln Riley to already make an impact at USC. Already flipped another Oklahoma commit today. Lincoln Riley flipped another football recruit from Oklahoma earlier this afternoon. When ESPN 300 running back Raleek Brown committed to USC. Brown is the number 6 ranked running back out of Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California.
Getting all that talent to stay home.
And by the way, that's the type of talent that, as you could see, by the way, the quarterback that he got the other day, the 5-star, California quarterback. Oh, look at all that talent. Those two pieces alone were going to Oklahoma from California. And like that's why this is going to be, I'm going to say easy by any means. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be easier keeping talent. Like you don't have to fly all over the country to recruit.
Think about it. CJ Stroud, he's from California.
I mean, you can. I mean, it's insane, and you're not going to keep everybody, but I mean, you're already seeing the impact from that. You know, Riley was also able to get a commitment from ESPN Junior 300 quarterback Malachi Nelson, the number 3 recruit in the 23 class, after Nelson had decommitted from the Sooners as well. USC's recruiting class took a hit when the program announced it was firing Clay Helton in September. The Trojans lost commitments from ESPN 300 quarterback Devin Brown and 5-star cornerback Damani Jackson when Helton left. Jackson recently named the Trojans in his top 2 with Alabama, but Brown recently committed to Ohio State. So again, it's not going to take long. Like USC, they're going to have a great recruiting class, especially with the early signing period coming up. They'll have a great recruiting class heading in to next season. But as far as when you could see them be contenders, Lincoln Riley has a lot of work to do, and it's not just on the recruiting trail as far as high school. If USC wants to become an instant contender next year, it's going to be the Mel Tucker approach. It's going to have to be, what can you do in that transfer portal?
We need to get a sound effect for the transfer portal.
I mean, when we're talking transfer portal versus that, absolutely. Wrong. Yeah, I know. You're 1,000,000% right.
Because, I mean, think about it. I can't remember when I looked, but it was over like 500 dudes have jumped in the portal since the last week of the regular season already. So once these dudes start landing in spots that it affects Ohio State, we need to have a sounder for that, you know?
Look, I don't think this affects Ohio State. I think it helps Ohio State. Look, Mort actually doesn't help Ohio State at all. It just selfishly makes me enjoy college football even more. Look, I want USC to be dominant again. I want USC to be dominant. Oregon, you had your time. You screwed up. Oregon's been solid, Kev. They've been good. But you know what I mean? Like they just always seem to come up short one way or another. You know, you beat Ohio State and then you lose 2 games since then. It's like, what are you doing? You can't do that. And it's like, here they are. Sure, they're about to brag. I see Jeff Schwartz and guys like that on Twitter bragging about we might win a Big 12 championship or a Pac-12 championship. I'm like, well, what good is that if it's not getting you anywhere?
Well, if Cristobal goes back home to Miami, then what?
Well, it sounds like that's a disaster, too, because they have like a bunch of people who I thought I read today. They have 10 plus people who believe they're in charge of making the official hire. And it's just becoming a cluster, fill in the blank. Miami's a disaster, man. Like, you know why why it's going to work for Lincoln Riley at USC? They haven't been a great program for quite some time, but they at least have like a good foundation in place as far as the athletics department's concerned. That's why he's going to succeed.
Absolutely. You talked about that, but now they have a real athletic director. Before they had former players like Lynn Swan was their athletic director before, a fundraiser, which you need to be a fundraiser to be an AD and everything like that. But you have a real athletic director, a person that has hired good coaches before. We talked about that athletic director hired Lou Fickell at Cincinnati. So when you have all those things in place and setting you up to have success, because we as fans, we just look at the surface level stuff and says wins and losses, W's and L's, recruiting, but there's a ton that goes on behind the scenes, and a lot of that stuff does fall on the athletic director. Is there any mystery why Ohio State is basically good at everything? Because they got a good athletic director. I know people don't like Gene Smith for some strange reason, but
no clue why you don't like Gene Smith.
But look at these hires.
I hate guys who do their job.
Look at these hires. Look at the athletic department at Ohio State. Pretty good at everything.
I just hope he takes the interim tag off Ryan Day here soon. I
couldn't even come with that. I'm smart to say.
To be honest, I'm all for putting an interim tag on him if he doesn't figure out how to go fix that defense. Though you didn't even try with Marcus Freeman. Didn't even try. And I don't want to hear that. Well, they wouldn't have had a chance. I saw some Buckeye blogger guys. I'm not going to name names, but they were last night. Well, anyone that thought that was a realistic possibility, they just don't understand. LSU. Now, they went hard after him. Like, I don't want to hear that. Stop making excuses.
See, I didn't mind that this time, but last year I had a big problem with it because
they reached out to him last year. They wanted him to be a co-defensive coordinator.
Nah, bruh. Nah. His defense is legit. His defense is legit at Purdue. Defense legit at UC. Should have broke open the bag for him. Should have broke open the bag for him and let him come fix the defense. And you know what else? He's a great recruiter. Some of the guys that locally that are going to end up going to Notre Dame is going to be between Ohio State and Notre Dame. Don't be mad when they go to Notre Dame. Be mad at the situation because he could have been the defensive coordinator at Ohio State and having those dudes come to Ohio State. Now, head coach of Notre Dame. Now you got to deal with him in the big time.
I know some of the callers today have made it sound like being the DC at Ohio State is a bigger job.
No way.
Than the Notre Dame.
No.
I'm like, you are the head coach. Like, I don't care for Notre Dame, but it's like I don't care for Alabama either, but I acknowledge who the hell they are. Now, Notre Dame is not Alabama, but Notre Dame is a historic program. Like, There's no doubt about it. And Marcus Freeman is the head coach at Notre Dame. Now, hasn't been made official. I have no clue. It's official. It's not official. It's basically it's complicated on Facebook. I don't know really what it means. It means that you're in a relationship, but you haven't put a title on it yet. I have no idea. Bottom line is, I've heard a few callers today almost reference like, well, I wish he would have gone to Ohio State to be the defensive coordinator, but to build his career up there. Why? You go to Ohio State to be the defensive coordinator to get to Notre Dame to be the head coach. I have no clue why people are talking about being the head coach at Notre Dame like it's so bad. There are its downfalls. Like, I hope that's not what crumbles. I think it's a risky job to take because you're already going to be behind the eight ball. You don't get access to every recruit out there. There's a lot of restrictions. They don't, it's tough to get into academically. We all know that. The conference, they don't play in a conference. Their margin for error is slimmer. You get one loss, and one loss this year against a team that's in the top four. Notre Dame's probably not going to make the playoff. I mean, it's a very slim shot. They're not making the playoff, but there's still a tiny little window. Yeah. But the bottom line is that at the end of the day, Marcus Freeman, he didn't need to go be the DC at Ohio State to get this job.
Right.
Like, that's how quickly he moved up the ranks. But like, people know when you're the real deal.
Right.
Like, why does Marcus Freeman need to go bounce around to be a defensive coordinator at a couple different schools before he's finally worthy of getting a job?
Already bounced around. He was the DC at Kent State, DC and linebacker coach at Purdue, same thing at UC. DC at Notre Dame. Sound like bounced around a lot to me.
No, I get that. But
no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to everybody else.
I'm just like, I have no clue. But look, it's because people have an obsession with the fickle thing at Cincinnati of, because everyone's more glued to him because he's a Buckeye, and somehow you want a Buckeye to lead Notre Dame. I have no clue why that makes any sense. But Freeman's a Buckeye, so I have no clue what's going on there. I don't know. Freeman, the real deal. I don't know why you have to continue to sit here and defend it. You want to know who's not the real deal?
Do tell.
That team up north. They're not the real deal.
Go Buckeyes.
They're not the real deal. I almost went so real quick. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. You probably didn't because you were off work, and that's what you're supposed to do.
Vacation, man.
Yeah. So I still believe Ohio State has a shot to make the college football playoff. I went through I'm not going to bore everyone with all the scenarios like yesterday, but we'll put some Buckeye music over there. And by the way, I wonder if Shaw will watch Michigan in the college football playoff if they make it, or will he not watch it because he's worried about them losing and he might ruin his family's Tuesday or Sunday or whatever.
New Year's
Eve. So I thought about it. People are like, "Oh, there's no chance in hell Ohio State still has a college football playoff opportunity." But here's the window. Here's the different
my glasses to read this.
Well, I can zoom in on my computer. So, all right. So the ones in yellow are this for those watching on Facebook. Those are the scenarios in which Ohio State could still make the college football playoff. I put a couple of interesting scenarios on there that don't involve Ohio State. But so if Georgia wins, Iowa wins, Oklahoma State wins, and Houston wins, Ohio State has a shot. The committee would have to decide between Alabama and Ohio State to get in. They have a shot in that scenario, Kev, right?
Hold on, let me look one more time. Georgia, Oklahoma.
So Georgia would have to beat.
No, I'm looking at the second one, right?
Yeah, the second one in yellow.
You would need Baylor to win.
Oklahoma State, Baylor beating who?
Baylor beating Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Oklahoma State. Why? I don't think that one matters. Oklahoma State beats Baylor, they're in. I don't think Baylor's a two-loss team. Baylor's not getting in no matter what right now because they would have to be compared to the other two-loss teams, and Baylor's not going to get in over two-loss Ohio State or two-loss Alabama for that matter. But to your point,
that would eliminate them. So it wouldn't be no debate.
But I still think Oklahoma State could win. If Cincinnati and Michigan lose, Ohio State's in. If Michigan and Cincinnati lose, which is pretty Oh, by the way, this is another reason the Bearcats tick me off. They don't have a neutral site that they're playing in. They get to play on their home freaking field.
That's a conference thing. That's not a UC thing.
Because they're not a real conference. That's the thing. Because no one cares about that conference to give them a neutral site. So that's BS. I just realized that today. I'm like, freaking weirdo fans of the Bearcats. Oh, cute.
That has nothing to do with UC.
So cute, the little Bearcats. Oh, give me a break.
That has nothing to do with
play a neutral site like Alabama. Huh? Never thought I'd say that. But yeah, they have a home field advantage or whatever.
UC didn't set that up. That's a conference situation.
Okay. They have they don't play anybody all year long, and they get to have a home game in their conference.
Because they won all their games.
They play
who's on their schedule.
They play crap.
They play on their schedule.
Yeah, and just like they can't help who they play, the teams in the playoff race can't help that they play nobody either. So they shouldn't be punished. So the team that they're going to take a playoff spot from, like Oklahoma State or somebody like that.
Now you're an Oklahoma State guy.
Oklahoma State's going to be punished because they actually play real teams. And even though the team that they lost to might not be that good, the teams that they lose to that still may not be that good, bad's not equal. Oklahoma Big 12 bad is not American Conference bad. I can't believe it's December and I'm still using these same talking points, but hey, it's the Justin Kidder. That's what I do. I just use the same talking points over and over. But yeah, gosh. Oh yeah, the Bearcats, if you don't make the playoff, you're the biggest joke of a team because you play nobody all year long. And by the way, somehow they get forgiven for not even looking good against the wins that they had. They barely beat Navy. They barely beat some of these crap teams. They played East Carolina or who they just play.
East Carolina.
Oh, okay. You see, no one says who's that. I mean, everyone makes fun of Rutgers, but we all know who Rutgers is. East Carolina. Give me a break. So they jumped on them early, but like East Carolina still moved the ball on them in the second half and made it interesting. If Luke Fickell wants to stick to his, we don't believe in running the score up on teams. It's because you're not capable of it, buddy.
This went from the college football playoff to bash Cincinnati. I'm glad I'm not from Cincinnati.
I'm glad Marcus Freeman didn't go to Cincinnati. I'm glad he's at Notre Dame.
Glad I'm born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, because if I was from the 513 down in the nasty natty, I would be mad at you too, because the Reds take shots, the Bengals take shots, the football team take shots. Goodness gracious.
I'm going to be taking shots too when Cincinnati makes the playoff for that embarrassing strength of schedule and then playing a home game in their conference championship.
They have nothing to do with
I'd rather Notre Dame get in. Let Marcus Freeman's Notre Dame team get in over the team that they lost.
You hated Notre Dame.
I like Marcus Freeman now, and I go Irish, baby. All right, so the scenarios. The other scenario that Ohio State can get in, Kev, Alabama beats Georgia, so Alabama and Georgia are in. Iowa beats Michigan to knock Michigan out. Baylor beats Oklahoma State to knock Oklahoma State out, and then Houston beats Cincinnati. Then your college football playoff 4 would be Bama, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. And by the way, is Marcus Freeman, would he be the coach of Notre Dame if they make the playoff?
I would believe so.
How cool would that be?
That'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. So one thing I'm noticing in here, you don't have the Pac-12 factor in here at all.
They don't have a shot. You don't
think if Oregon wins, and they always bring up the conference championship matters, that wouldn't factor in at all?
I mean, what would it factor into? They got to be held accountable for the teams they lost to.
Absolutely. But I always hear this: you got to be accountable for the teams that you lost to. But what about the games that you won? And if they win their conference championship, which they say matters, that will give them a conference championship, another victory over a top 25 team. And they're playing this weekend, and that's like one of the knocks that I hear about Notre Dame. Well, they don't play on championship weekend. Well, in Oregon's case, they will be playing on championship weekend. They will have a win versus the top 25 opponent, and then you will be comparing two lost teams, one being Oregon, one being Ohio State. One will have a conference championship and a victory over that said team that they're debating.
No one gonna pick Oregon over Ohio State. Listen, that's hilarious. And you know what? They might as well let Oregon in, because you know what? We've already proven that the eye test means nothing. That's how the Bearcats are still in the conversation. So you know what, Kev? Forget the Buckeyes. I'm
just saying.
You're right. Go Oregon.
You showed me the graph, and I'm giving you my take.
No, you're right, though. You're right. And the thing is, like, we know Ohio State's better than Oregon, even though they lost to Oregon. But the bottom line is watch Oregon play. They're horrible. They don't stack up with those other teams. Ohio State lost to them in the second game of the season with the freshman quarterback and a lot of young players at position players. Of course, they were going to have a chance to lose that. But anyways, it is what it is. They lost. You're right, though. To be fair, didn't consider that. That's a 2-loss team of the conference championship. That's right there being considered. But Oregon and the Pac-12, they can kick rocks, man. Like, I'm not even interested in that. I do want the Buckeye music back in the background. And then the last scenario I have, Oregon's not a part of this exercise, Kev. Georgia.
So you did this whole thing yesterday without me, and nobody brought that up. Shame on you as the listeners.
Because they're smart listeners. I've never talked bad about our listeners are smart people. So the last scenario that Ohio State can get in, Georgia beats Alabama. That knocks Alabama out, or at least puts them back to the 2-loss team conversation. All right, Michigan would beat Iowa. All right. I mean, Shaw will wake up the next day and we'll have to tell him the score because he probably won't watch. Baylor would beat Oklahoma State to knock them out. So the Big 12 is out of it at that point. And then Cincinnati with the home field advantage, the only team with the home field advantage because they play in a conference that's not even good enough to have a neutral site hosted. Houston, let's say Houston pulls off the upset. I wouldn't consider it an upset, but let's say Houston pulls off the upset. That would eliminate Cincinnati. Baylor would eliminate the Big 12 and Oklahoma State. That would put Georgia, Michigan in, and then it's Ohio State, Notre Dame, or Alabama battling it out for those final 2 spots. Or Oregon, to be fair. We could put Oregon back in there if they win, fine. But it's Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Oregon fighting for those last 4.
If that last scenario happens, there's no way. There's no way you can put Alabama in there. There's no way. There's no way you can put a 2-loss Alabama in there. Out of that scenario, if it was up to me, I probably would pick Notre Dame. Most likely would pick Notre Dame in that situation. But Alabama wouldn't even be up for a debate for me. Like, you lost twice. Like, it's almost 2-loss teams.
But they've all lost twice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you do what I do. I start catching myself in. They lost twice. Oh, crap.
And that's the reason. That's the reason I don't think Ohio State is going to get it. If they had 2 losses currently and are headed to Indianapolis to play for the Big Ten championship, I would say they still had a legitimate shot. But be it that they don't play championship weekend, they have no other brownie points to get with the committee and everything like that, I think it's basically slim to none that them getting into the college football playoff. I think they're going to get ready for a Rose Bowl appearance versus potentially Oregon or Utah.
But look at all those. I mean, Alabama, your losses are to, yes, the number 1 team in Georgia in the SEC title game, probably, most likely, possibly. And then to the number 25, to a 4-loss Texas A&M team.
Right.
Struggled with Auburn, but as we've seen with the Bearcats, struggling to beat teams doesn't matter. You almost get rewarded.
Dang,
for
Mikey.
It. You almost get rewarded for it. In fact, if you struggle against bad teams, the committee props you up like the Bearcats. So Alabama, actually, they did the right thing. They struggled to beat a bad team. Ohio State, they just lost to a bad team. So it is what it is. But no, Ohio State lost to 2 good teams. I'm joking. They lost to 2 good teams, 2 top 10 teams. Like, let's say Oregon wins. That means Ohio State would have lost to Michigan and Oregon, who would probably be in the top 7 at that point.
Right.
Both of them. That's what I think.
Best losses. Love that conversation when everybody talk about, they have the best loss. That just irks me.
No, it doesn't irk me because at the end of the day, if Cincinnati, if those bunch of JV squad fans over there want to sit here and say, oh, but we're undefeated, we should be rewarded for our wins. Well, when the teams that you play give you a higher a million times higher percent chance of winning than if Cincinnati went up against Michigan or Cincinnati went up against Oregon or Cincinnati played a real team outside of Notre Dame, which they beat. And the reason they're even in the conversation is because they beat Notre Dame. I get tired of little wussy Cincinnati fans saying, and I want to say the other word, but I can't.
You better not.
It's not an FCC violation. It's just a moral thing. So whatever. But whatever. It is what it is. But we got to be rewarded for our wins. The only reason you are in the conversation is because you beat Notre Dame. If you hadn't beat Notre Dame, you would not be anywhere near this conversation. And why? Because you don't play anybody. It doesn't make any sense to me. This Cincinnati thing has gone on long enough. I cannot wait to watch Houston win. This whole moving the goalpost thing because of the feel-good Cinderella story, it's ridiculous. And then you got Sean Boland here, who's a Bearcat fan. Kinner hates UC now too. Laugh my ass off. Grow up. You need to grow up, pal. You're the one getting your little man panties all in a wad because I'm speaking truth. Cincinnati, it's not like, then I feel like I'm crazy because I have to sit here and say the team that doesn't play anybody is getting rewarded while we punish teams who play tough teams and tough schedules. Oh, sure, they have a loss, but they're supposed to have a loss when you play a tough schedule. There's a reason there's only 2 undefeated teams in the country, and that is the true number 1 team in the country, Georgia, And then there's the JV team, the Bearcats, who played absolutely nobody. I would hope we're undefeated. I hope you're undefeated with who you play. I would hope that when you play East Carolina, by the way, if you watch that game, it's like they were shooting it with a cell phone. I mean, that's the kind of teams you're going up against. They don't even have enough resources to be able to tape a good game for you. So, Sean, no, you grow up. You stop being a little crybaby. Oh, he's making fun of my Bearcats. I'm not making fun of your Bearcats. I'm pointing out truths about the Bearcats. They don't play anybody. They struggle against those nobodies. They're still waving the flag off of that one good game they had against Notre Dame. Super. I'm not discrediting that win. That was a hell of a win. But every team has good wins. Every team has, a tougher schedule. So you can't, if it comes down to one game, if I'm Ohio State, they have Notre Dame next year. Beat Notre Dame next year and then don't play the rest of the season. Just say, you know what? No, if Cincinnati can make the playoff for playing one real team, then we're going to call it quits after we beat Notre Dame next year. And then we'll just wait for selection Sunday. That's what the Bearcats basically did. They've had an off week every week since then. Actually, no, they took off weeks and made themselves work. It's like when you came in the other day on your off day. Yeah, that's the Bearcats. Like, you should have stayed home. You shouldn't have come in and worked, but you made your job harder. That should have just been you at home on the couch sleeping. When you play East Carolina, you should be at home on the couch sleeping. Instead, it was like Kev having to come in on his off day. They made their job harder. Give me a break.
So let's be clear. You're not necessarily talking about the Bearcats.
I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
The team, the coaches, the guys. You're more angry at the fans, right? You're not necessarily angry at the players in the program, are you? You're more angry at the fans?
I get annoyed with the way the media, like Kirk Herbstreit did this thing too that annoyed me on the last selection show when they interviewed Luke Fickell. I got annoyed with Kirk Herbstreit because Kirk Herbstreit did this weird little, because he had Luke Fickell on and you got to pander to the coaches because they're little sensitive people. Luke Fickell, what do you tell your team when people say that you didn't win with style points? And he said it just like style points and even put it in little quotations. I'm like, why are you saying style points or winning convincingly? Why are you mocking that? Like, yes, if you play in the American Conference, I don't think winning by under 10 against bad 4, 5, 6 loss teams, I think that should be a thing that you look at and say, yeah, Alabama wouldn't win by 9 against East Carolina. Well, they blew out East Carolina, but like Navy and those teams, like they wouldn't struggle with those teams. Why are you struggling with those teams? Like, even Ohio State's struggle with Tulane or Tulsa still was a 3-touchdown victory with 500 total yards offense on the day. Look, let me calm down here a bit. But the point is like we are moving the goalposts, things that were common sense a year ago. Because we feel bad for the underdog, we want to open the door and make exceptions for them. We don't make exceptions for Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan, and others, but we got to make exceptions for them. And I agree with you. They can't help who they play. But if I'm a 2-loss Ohio State team, Ohio State can't help that they play a tough schedule, and they would be they would be undefeated too. Like, you want me to believe that Cincinnati is as good as Alabama when they play who they play, and Alabama plays who they play. And this is a down year for Alabama, by the way. That's what's crazy.
Can't run the ball.
It's a down year for Alabama, and they would still smoke Cincinnati by 50. I'm exaggerating there, but the point is, I don't know. I just broke my rule. I don't care about what I think would happen if two teams met on the field. I care about the body of work leading into it. Cincinnati probably could hang with these guys. Probably. I don't know. Maybe. Sure. It'll be a cute little Cinderella story, and thanks to the committee, we'll find out, I'm sure.
Well, they got to handle their business first.
Well, no, they have a home field advantage. They should win. If there's a lock this weekend, it should be Cincinnati beating Houston, because when you get a home game and you're the only team with the home game, you should win.
You act like UC set the rules up. The conference set the rules.
They don't. Look, Cincinnati doesn't control any of this, but they're sitting here trying to pretend to be the victim. I wonder how we're going to get screwed this weekend. You're lucky.
Who says that? The fans or
oh my
them?
gosh, the fans and even the media.
So that was my question. That was my question.
Mike Greenberg today was talking about, really curious to see how they're going to screw the Bearcats out of a playoff if they win this weekend. I'm sorry, if one-loss Oklahoma State wins, that means they would have beat 2 top 10 teams the final couple weeks of the season, including a conference championship and a real conference, actually. And by the way, if the American Conference is so great and we shouldn't downplay it, why are they trying to get out of it? I'm just saying. I just want to throw that out there. Like, let's be real. So
it's the fans that you have a beef with,
and the crybaby media. The media does this weird thing where they're pushing for the underdog and all that stuff. And I'm like, look, you want to go watch Rudy. Go if you need to get that fix in. Watch March Madness, but stop trying to push that narrative on the 4-team college football playoff where it's meant for the real teams.
But even you just said Ohio State is better than Oregon, even though they lost to Oregon.
Who?
You said that.
What?
That Ohio State is better than Oregon, even though they lost to them. Like, at some point, we do have consequences.
Yes, that's the truth, though. I think people believe that. Oregon fans won't let people believe that. And you're all high and mighty, so you won't say that. But, like, you know damn well, like, Ohio State, they play right now. Ohio State is better than Oregon.
Yeah, right now. But when they played in September, I saw Dye running around in 4 or 5 times. And then guess what I saw versus Michigan? Michigan ran the same play that Oregon was scored 4 touchdowns on, and we still ain't fixed that same problem. So I don't know.
Every team has a flaw, though. Alabama has flaws.
For sure. They can't run the ball.
I'm not going to say Ohio State can't make the playoff because they have flaws. Every team has flaws. So that's just the thing. But, like, I don't know. This is fun. 14 playoff. Don't change it. Because if it was that little hippy-dippy, everyone gets a trophy, everyone gets in the playoff, this would be boring, and we wouldn't care. Honestly, heading into championship weekend, this matters because the results of all these conference championship games impacts who gets in and who doesn't. In a hippy-dippy world of everyone gets a participation trophy and everyone gets a star on their chart and no one plays bad, no one lost, the other team just scored more points than you, and we got to make sure everyone feels good. None of that. 14 playoff cutthroat, get out of here. It's only a tournament for the men, for the real teams. Let's go.
I hope y'all put a billion pills in the chat because he was on 10 today, especially this last hour. I don't know what got you all riled up this last hour.
Bearcats. That story, I've been boiling on that all year. I've secretly been pulling from the lose the entire season.
Oh my goodness.
I really have. Every year, every week. But the thing is, I pulled from against Indiana and I pulled from against Notre Dame. And then
I know there was a shift in your dialogue going into the season. Nah. The season starts. All right, let's see what they got. And then when they got that win against Notre Dame that week, it was cool. And then after that, it's been bleep. You see it ever since.
It's because as I've watched Ohio State navigate through their schedule and they're playing, top 10 team after top 10 team after top 10 team. And then we have the nerve to sit and say, well, maybe Ohio State's not that good. Well, maybe it's just because they play real team. Ohio State plays top 10 team after top 10 team after top 10 team. They finally stubbed their toe in the final week of the regular season. Their other loss came against another top 10 team at the beginning of the season. They've been playing a gauntlet of a schedule the whole time, as has Alabama and others, okay? And then there's Cincinnati. And the headline always is they didn't blow out Army or Navy. They didn't blow out this bad team. They didn't blow out Tulane. They struggled here. They took a goal line stand to beat some 5 or 6 loss teams not even a month and a half ago. Like, I'm over it. I'm calming down. It is what it is. But it is what it is. Is this Shaw on hold? Should we bring him on or should we say nah?
Go for it.
Like, drop him. Please let me drop him.
No, bring him on. He got 2 minutes.
Shaw, is this you?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's me.
Yes, sir. That's what I like. That's right. Show me respect, Shaw.
Hey, I'll be respectful to you since you can't be respectful to me.
Aw, are you going to cry? Are you going to say, we lied again? We didn't lie. You got really sensitive about that. My goodness, you were all up in your feelings. It was like a Sarah McLachlan commercial. You were just all sad and whew.
Yeah, I'll raise my hand.
Jason Fitz even asked us, he goes, what's that guy's problem? Like, do you want me to tell you now or do you want me to, I need an hour?
No, you don't need an hour. You just say I've been lying about it to make my rating sound go rise. And
you're very full of yourself to think that you help ratings, sir.
No, I have been, so it's okay.
Shaw is feeling himself this week, boy. He get that dub, and he is talking.
Hey, I'm not done with you either, Mister. I'm a bandwagon fan.
Yeah, Kev, you big jerk, you big bully.
What's up, man?
Shaw.
Hey, how am I a bandwagon fan? Because I said I wasn't going to watch a half of a game.
That's Cap.
Actually, that's not true either. I'll raise my hand on that. I said I wasn't going to watch a game, but it was DVR. And you guys want to sit there and act like I never watched it.
You sound really old when you say DVR. You might as well talk about your VCR.
I know, but I mean, I am what I am. I'm 40. So it is what it is.
Everybody put the Cap emojis in the chat for Shaw.
Yeah, that's fine. I wasn't the one that just went off on UC for an hour, so it's okay.
See, you lied, Shaw. It wasn't an hour. It was 10 minutes. It wasn't an hour. You're such a liar. You see how silly that sounds? That was you just the other day. You embarrassed us in front of a national guest.
Something that
this is why we can't have nice things.
In September.
What?
Something that you and I were talking about in September. That UC wasn't going to get in the playoff, and you wanted to jump my tail because I said it.
No, because at that time I said there was a path to get to the playoff. I don't believe there is now a forced path to the playoff. What?
No, you weren't listening as usual.
You're hard to listen to. Your voice is just it's just really tough.
When the final rankings came out, is what I said in September. You can go back and listen to that tape too. When the final rankings come out in September, after Big Ten championships, after ACC championships, after SEC championships, they won't be in the Final Four. Because exactly what Kev said, they're going to really keep out Oklahoma State if they win this weekend after winning 2 top 10 teams in the last 2 weeks.
That's what I just said. Oklahoma State should be in. If they win, they should be in.
Yes, you're saying that now. 3 weeks ago, you weren't saying it.
3 weeks ago, it wasn't a possibility 3 weeks ago. We had no clue.
Yes,
That's the thing. You're one of those people that thinks you're supposed to see into the future. We had no clue what was going to unfold to get to this point. My opinion changes weekly because the events change weekly. It's not that hard to understand.
What have you been saying for the last 10 minutes? They don't play anybody. This has been writing on the wall for the last 3 months.
Why are you yelling? Why are you upset?
Because
are you going to cry
same reason why you were yelling at UC fans for the last 10 minutes.
I wasn't yelling. I was speaking loudly.
Okay. But anyhow, back to why I called in.
You have 60 seconds.
That's not good. I forgot.
Well, we holler at you tomorrow. Yep. All right, folks. Have a good night until tomorrow. It's been the Justin Kinder Show. We're gonna have the Iowa fight song on the show tomorrow. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Go Hawkeyes.
We can't cheer on the Buckeyes this weekend. Who are you pulling for? Well, Notre Dame. Oh, no, they don't play in the conference, so they're not playing this weekend either. But I'm not rooting for that team up north. I promise you that much. So, yes, Iowa it is. We are big Iowa fans. Tomorrow, everyone
I love Kirk Ferentz.
I want to know everyone's team tomorrow. Who are we pulling for on Championship Saturday? That's what we're going to find out tomorrow from everybody. Mike Golick, we'll hear from him. See, Mark Smith already says, "Go Hawkeyes." We're going to be the home of the Hawkeyes tomorrow,
Let's
baby.
Go
Hawkeyes. All right, have a good night, everybody.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only 2 places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
Would you like to save hundreds of dollars on your real estate taxes? Celebrate the holidays with the gift of a lower tax bill. This is Montgomery County Auditor Carl Keith, and if you're a homeowner age 65 or older, or you are permanently and totally disabled, you could be eligible for the homestead exemption. To find out if you qualify, call my homestead hotline at 937-225-4341. The deadline to apply for this tax break is December 31st, but if you are already enrolled, you do not need to reapply. New applicants are subject to an income test. Visit our website for more information at mcauditor.org or call 937-225-4341. That hotline number again is 937-225-4341. And remember, the deadline to apply is December 31st. This is Auditor Carl Keith wishing you and your homestead the best this holiday season.
It's the most wonderful time of the year and time for the legendary Buckman's D&D Harley-Davidson Christmas Open House event. Starting on Friday, December 10th through Sunday, December 12th. Take 20% off licensed products, 10% off aftermarket non-Harley-Davidson parts, free gift wrapping, and photos with Santa on Saturday, December 11th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Buckman's D&D Harley-Davidson in Xenia.
Start your painting project and save big at Menards. Dutch Boy has the paints you need to get the job done right. DuraClean Interior